All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Where did I leave off? Apparently we were trying to kill Pyro. It's been a hot second. What were we doing? What do we want to do is a better question, actually. What do we want to do today? Let's start out with some Frozen Swamp. Some good old Frozen Swamp. Oh, interesting. It's not even active anymore, the injection well. All right. All right, what else? Sure, scav scrap. Anything else, quest-wise? Clear skies will work. Let's start with Shaman. I've done Shaman in a while too. Good old fast character with a good rig. And the trusty RPK, I imagine. I imagine it'll feel nice too, not playing Mass Mad and being able to shoot straight. That will probably be a refreshing feeling. I guess we'll do M4 instead. M4, plenty of 5.56, right? Yeah. And then some meds. We're probably gonna need a drill. And I believe we're good. We go ahead and drop the HUD too. HUD is off. Hey Psycho, how's it going? Now, unfortunately, I will say, in the newer patch, like, you can still do no HUD. However, the visual indicators for aggro now seem to ignore that toggle. So, for example, right, we won't have a HUD, but we'll still see the indicators over things' heads. Which I kind of wish wasn't the case, but it is what it is for now.
Life finds a way, even here.
It would be nice, actually, if there was, like, a high level of granularity in what you could have on or off in the HUD. Or opacity, too. Alright. Let's go get our object for clear skies. Oh, this is a... do I need to clear out my folder or something? So we're using apparently a stock M4 right now. The thumbnails, I think I just need to delete my thumbnails. I think they're stored in a particular folder. They've just been very inaccurate for a while now. I can't really trust the pictures anymore. The thing being that we're not using a silenced M4 right now, so that means we'll attract a lot of attention if we start shooting. So let's not shoot. Alright, so it's gonna be inside here now. You can start drilling. Hello. But yeah, so they did something too, right, where if, like, there's an obstacle in the way, they usually hide it, but if they're in the open, that's usually visible. Alright, we're good. Alright, there's what we need.
The city provides sustenance.
Let us get out of here. You see nothing. So yeah, unsilenced M4 with only a 30 round back. Gotta be very, very cautious about that. And I will say too, so we're playing with no HUD. We can still use medkits this run. The only problem is going to be, it's in this patch they've jacked up damage and accuracy for the AI a lot, which I don't mind, but essentially, even in light skirmishes like that, it's hard to get exact gauge on how much HP we lost. So we're probably gonna need to just pop medkits after every fight. I'm gonna be a little greedy here now, though, and not take one until next fight, or the middle of next fight. Essentially, if you get, like, caught in the open by a whole, like, your open squad, you're usually dead in a quick second. Yeah, that's the jammer for clear skies. It's over there on that destroyed train yard, or that destroyed train tracks area. And it can spawn outside of the containers, on top of the crates. However, occasionally it will, yeah, you're right here, actually I passed you. It will not spawn outside. You'll have to actually drill into a container and get it inside. So generally speaking, you can risk it without having a drill for this mission, but you typically want a drill. I'm gonna pop a kid. Okay, so we have train schedules now, and we have data waves, which is all going to be at the injector site. I'm going to go around the long way again. It's back and forth-ish, but like at the same time, I think this route is just the overall way safer way of getting to the injector site. It's just real hard to stay alive otherwise. Yeah, it's going to be always near this little train yard area. I've never had an instance where it didn't spawn, but I have had instances where it will only spawn inside the containers. Alright, up we go. Yeah, by far this is like the safest route to the injector site. Just up the train, up the tracks here, and on the pipe. The elevator's not bad now, but you still usually have a squad or two between you and the control room. At most, you might have a sniper up here you need to kill, but you're pretty safe. Alright, so we have EODs instead. Alright, they're heading out so we can get in. Alright, we're good. Do not want to get shot in the back here. Shaman's a little bit tankier than Scav Girl, but not really that much so we will fold the pressure. It's ammo. Mods or ammo again. We need storage crates now for our train schedule. Let's go up top. Hello, drone. It's every gun now is a railgun in this game. It's crazy. Like, Mass Man kind of gives you the illusion of having to, like, compensate for recoil, but my god. Alright, there's a convoy schedule, so we're good here. We can now leave this hellhole. Hey Cheesecake, how's it going? We're doing well. Just actually playing the game for a bit. I haven't played in a while, actually. Basically, I haven't played since last Friday. Do I really want to go? Do I really want to go all the way around? Not really. I'm gonna be a little lazy here. Hey, Duffs. I wanna go fast. I wanna go slow. We're gonna call the elevator up and wait. You know, considering this is supposed to be abandoned, apparently, it's in pretty good shape. Holy shit, Cash Lab is working now. Hold on. While we wait for... Don't you see me? No. Apparently they actually do know I'm here, they just don't care about me right now. Go down, go down, go down. Hey guys, how's it going? So, for those unaware, the exclamation point means they are aware of you, but they are caring about something else. So, like, question marks means they don't know you're there yet, and then exclamation point means they're there, but something else has their attention, so they're ignoring you for now. Thanks, bot. Appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's a fun game. It's definitely early access, but yeah. I am rocking a 3080. It's the 10 gig one too. $3080 and a 5800X CPU from AMD. Okay. This will probably come up more than one time here. I imagine this might pop up a few times today, but allow me to defend myself. Actually, let's get the basis for comparison here first. Let's, let me up, Gabe. Anyway. So, I recently did a video on these little pals right here, the Titans, and I must illuminate everyone. I would see if you Psycho can't do some overclocking here and there, and like see if you can't beef up your GPU. Like, I think there's probably some like headway you can probably find, Psycho Pete. Okay, so two big things I want to note here. The first off, the scale of objects in this game can be deceiving, because you kind of sometimes need to abandon your preconceived notions of the size of things. For example, this tank here. This is a tank for ants. This is a comically sized tank. If we are assuming Shaman is a somewhat normal sized person, this tank is for ants. So that's the first thing. It's like the first thing to get over the hump is do not be deceived by the size of things in this game. Sometimes they are abnormally large and small. That being said, I will take you potentially, but it's like, if it's a drone tank, here's the thing. This is a Type 10, a Japanese tank apparently, someone was telling me. And like, here's the thing. They could be, I guess, manufacturing these on a miniature scale to make drones, and like, I don't have a problem with that, but like, if we go over to here, right, we have basically like the same tank but just scaled up, like not 10 feet away, more than 10 feet away, but you know, hyperbole. But we have the same tank that is much more, it might not even be fully realistic size still too, but it's actually much more closer to scale of what you would expect, right? With its giant gun and its actual crew hatch you can get inside and so on and so forth. Like, I would still think this is probably like 90%, but it's way closer, right? And knowing these tanks, right, we have 120mm guns. Like, that's pretty, like, smoothbore 120mm, that's pretty bog standard on a lot of guns, right? It's a 120mm cannon. Now, if we take that concept, right, of that being 120mm, and we go up to the guns of the Titan, I have bad news for everyone. Once again, your preconceived notions on the shape of guns are misleading you. And I don't disagree, it is very misleading. So very misleading. But if we go up to, say, this gut up here, if I can get up here without, like, murdering myself from the weird-ass slope. Give up here. Yeah, like, that's all certainly possible, right? But, like, the whole thing is kind of just basing, it's more about size, right? It's like two things. That could be the case. Their miniature tanks really that you know, it would probably warrant its own logical explanation in the game lore, but like for the most part it's more just kind of getting your scope on the size of things, right? And if we look at the guns here, right, in comparison to like the full-size smoothbore, they're probably a little bit bigger, but really not that much bigger. The shape of them makes you think they're these massive dreadnoughts, right, of like these giant, like, you know, foot and a half, 2 feet, like, size cannons. No, like, they might be at most 8-inch guns. That's probably still stretching it. They're very long, very bulky, probably 5, 6, or 7, 8-inch guns. And I know, like, if you look at like old 5-inch or 7-inch or like, you know, older guns of that size, they do not look like this because none of them needed to have these like long ass barrels, right? So it is just misleading. And like, I'm gonna show you more instances today of the weird scaling in this game. So like, just keep in mind, right? The shape of things can be deceiving. Do not take them at face value. I think if you do nothing, Cheesecake, you can stay indefinitely. I actually don't think that's too concerning, Delta. As I mentioned in my video, right, their armor is more structural than actual protective in nature, right? They really do not have a lot of room for armor, considering all of the shit they need to carry. And considering too, right, like in other lore videos, or not my lore videos, but like other like lore areas, right, where like Eurasia is missing its high-tech weaponry, right? I can see the instances of it getting cleaved in half, right, by a laser or energy weapon of some kind. Hey, zombie. But now is time to show you one of the more what's the right word for this? Interesting scaling things in this game. We're gonna go over to Elephant Mausoleum. And in their defense, right, Elephant Mausoleum is probably like one of their first maps, if not the first map. So for things to be kind of out of whack there is, I would say, understandable. It's not much of a critique, it's just more of just be aware of this, yeah. Zombie, before you join, we're talking about the kind of the size of the guns, the Titans and so like that, and like how the sizes in game and the shapes in game can be misleading to the actual size. If we're assuming scavs are normally sized, right? Except for like, if we're assuming like Scav Girl and Shaman are about the normal size for like humans, like around 6-ish feet, 5'10" or 5'8" for Scav Girl, for the most part, right? The guns on the Titans have to be in the 5 to 8-inch range. And considering we have a more to scale tank down below that's 120 millimeters, it's much more akin to that. Let's get off the irons and we should be good. That's interesting. I've never seen that one before, Cheesecake. There is free cam, right? Like, no, well, there's not free cam in the game, right? But like, if it's very easy to like mod free cam in. I wonder if there's like a developer hotkey you accidentally hit that was in the game for some reason. Some sequence of keys. Hey, Toothpaste. All of the guns, well, like I'm hoping to see eventually how they change things, right? All of the guns right now feel kind of the same, but all these kind of weird laser systems. Let me also make sure I'm not on public, because it does that now. You were just a floating rig. I'm not gonna lie, zombie. I've seen a few memes of like dwarf mask man, and now I want it more than ever. I want dwarf mask man. It kind of makes a lot of sense too, right? To some degree, considering how much shit he carries sometimes. His spinal column's just been compressed into one solid chunk. That's fair, yeah. Like, I wouldn't say don't be concerned about game-breaking things in this game, because once again, it's a PvE game, right? It's your own prerogative if you want to, you know, cheat or exploit to get ahead. But no, alright, so the first things first, right, is we are in the lovely elephant mausoleum where there's thousands of, not thousands, but hundreds of tanks around. And for the most part, the tanks here seem so much more appropriately sized from the T90s that are actually in-game. They still seem a bit small here and there, but like they are much more akin, I would think, to the actual T90s. And we have the super mega tanks over here too, right? Where, you know, we have no reference for scale, really. They don't have an IRL basis. But like then we have, I mean, like, I would say the T90 feels a little bit small, but for the most part, it's not too bad. But no, here, we now have this monstrosity. We have a giant exo, and this is literally just the exo model scaled up by like a factor of 2. But nothing's changed about it, right? It might just be a placeholder for something in the future, right? It could like, this could be a model for like, say, you know, X mech or Y mech, right? It could just be a placeholder and they sized it for that reason. But like, remember, the exo has a pilot inside, right? That like kind of, this is an exoskeleton for them to some degree, right? And so the pilot inside of this would need to be twice as big. Like just basically a giant human. Yeah, and then like, yeah, and then there's a zombie. If we go to Scrapyard too, there's Macavas in the hangar that look insanely small also. It just, yeah. And once again, this is all more of just for like everyone else being like, hey, don't take the shape of things at face value of their size in game. Because they are misleading. Everything is misleading. And like, yeah, for example, this carousel here, I can't imagine this is the right size either. So like, it's just, take size with a grain of salt. And it could be too, right? The carriers are supposed to be bigger than they currently are in game. The Titans. That could absolutely be the case, right? Maybe they're supposed to be dreadnoughts or, you know, have those giant 12, 16, you know, larger inch guns. Hey, cuz. And like and here's the thing, right? And there's a mini grabber too here and there. Like there's tons of instances, right, where you can find things of different styles and scales, or sizes and scales. And it could be a lore thing, right? Remember, there's cryptid printers around too, and like fabrication, so it could be a lore thing. Until I see otherwise, I'm going to take them at face value and just say they're just wrongly scaled. If they introduce some lore aspect where they say like, yeah, there's sometimes instances with smaller or bigger things, you know, drone tanks, if you will, sure, I can buy into that point. Yeah, nerf. At the same time, though, until we actually see more instances of like things spawning far away, there's only so much sniping you can actually do in game. And it would also probably require ballistics to be interesting and not just a point-and-click adventure. Because right now, most guns are just point-and-click and, you know, not much thought put into it. And it kind of depends too, I guess, on like how in depth they want characters to be and how different they want them to be. So, for example, if they want to lean on characters, say for example, having different levels of gun control, they could do that, right? And there's different ways of doing that too, right? They could just, like, you know, have reductions for certain characters, or they could have more bespoke certain aspects to characters in regards to like how they control guns. They've like alluded to like the ones right now just being kind of placeholdery, but nothing other than that really. Based. Yeah, I'm curious where they're gonna take it. We'll have to see. I'm still not sure they can, you know... I'm not certain they can deliver all the guns they want to use in game to the level of polish I think they should have. Ain't no bad. Oh no, that's my saving grace is my pessimistic nature, Nomad. It fits the setting, right? All hope is lost, everything is doomed, we're all going to die. Just struggling to survive. Bum, like, I would hope so. There are so many kind of static emplacements in the game right now that feel like they would, like... Okay, so, to preface this, right now, a lot of the maps are very quiet. There's not a lot of ambient sounds and gunplay and so on and so forth. Even during the day, right, when we're supposed to be raging, it gets quiet very quickly. And it kind of depends. It seems like they want to ground their sound in game. They do not want to have sound effects that do not have a source. They do not want to lean too heavily on ambient sound and soundscapes to, like, like that very subtle gunplay in the background, right? The pop, 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 pop. That's not really a war raging on, that's just a casual people popping off, right? So it kind of gives the sense that they really want to have their soundscapes be in game, and those guns might be a way of doing that, right? We might see the Titans and the gun emplacements in game actually function, but maybe not in a way we expect where they're impacting the field of battle locally, but more in a regional area, right? So say, for example, if you're unfamiliar, right, there's Big Green, and Big Green's supposed to be this, like, siege or heavy mech for Eurasia, right? Essentially, a mech we have yet to see the scale of, something that would fight the Titans, right? And so, there's not really a lot of maps that could probably support that, but what could happen, right, is we might have instances where we're, say, for example, in Ashen Mesa, and on one side we have the Titans, and one side we have a Big Green, and they're not really on the field of battle, but they're fighting kind of through the field of battle, if you will, or kind of caught between these two giant mechs fighting each other. And so they're not directly interacting with us, but they are, like, we are under the effect of them. We are, say, for example, like, you know, there's constant waves of fire and, like, lasers going on overhead. And they do shoot on the field occasionally too, right? But that's kind of my current thought on Exo. I want to rescue these prisoners, please, and you're being yourself right now. I have plans. I'm kind of working on a few things right now. Oh, god damn it. Let me get inside.
This won't be the end of us.
I do have plans for more ambient videos. Maybe not, like, seriously, but we'll, like, I'm working on things right now. Ambient videos are really easy for me to put out, though, I will say, but it's in my considerations. But going back to the Titans, right? Like, that's kind of my concept of maybe that's their current headspace in regards to, like, the Titans and Big Green and then the soundscapes, is they kind of want them to be ways they can kind of produce the ambient sounds they want without building ground. No, you're not allowed to do that anymore. Ground the sounds in game. Yeah, it's all at this point. Nomad 2, it feels also artificial at this point that it, like, I don't know. For better or for worse, Nomad, I have always done things my way, and like meta be damned, right? No, said Black. It's a very common trick. Like, it's a very common issue with exos, is exos love to just phase through environments. But no, yeah, Nomad. For better or for worse, I usually do things always my own way, and it does sometimes come out for the worse, right? But like, if I don't do it my way, I usually am unhappy with it, so don't look at the XO. Be free, my children.
Shit ton of action down there.
Goodbye, XO.
Avoid it.
Well, Nomad, I will just, until I am proven wrong, I am always just going to point to bandwidth issues. And it will always be my main critique of the game is, and that's perfectly fine, right? Because like my mental priorities are going to not align with theirs, right? Because we're different people. Things that I would prioritize are not their priorities, and that's perfectly fair, right? It's their game, not mine. But I will always point to, I think, bandwidth issues being the core constraint here, because I saw it before too in other indie games I worked on, right? Not worked, when I say worked on, I mean like help support via stuff like this and bug reports, not like development. I did do Q&A work, but like that's a different story. But it was always a, like with small indie games, right, it's always a bandwidth constraint, right? You only have so many like of X department, right? Yeah, let's go over to Scrapyard now. We're doing a whole like scale tour where we're gonna go see all the janky scales of things. I don't think the Mercados and the like, it's weird. I don't think the Mercados were that bad, but we're gonna go see. Yeah, and it depends too, Nomad, right? Like, so many things depend on the route they want to take forward. As a business, right? Like, keep in mind, for better or for worse, and like, despite their doctrine, right? They are a capitalistic company.
Choices matter.
They're not a non-profit, is what I'm saying, right? And there's no reason why they would be, right? So like at the end of the day, they are a business that needs to bring in money. And, you know, them bringing in more money means they can show potential investors and people willing to finance them that, hey, you know, you can take this risk on us because, you know, we're good for it. And it depends on the whole grand scheme of things in that regard, right? Let me loot. I will say, like, if so many of the units, I'm kind of curious actually. So there's, for the times where we don't get the like aggro indicator, there are actually some degree visibility problems, right? Like seeing the cyborgs over there isn't, I would say, easy. But I'm not sure if I would hate that, right? Them kind of blending into the environment, sinking back into the shadows to like ambush you. Yeah, and like, no matter, the issue is too, right? Like, I'm pretty sure, well, I'm not pretty sure. Like, the only person I know working on sound is Jeff, right? So it's one guy doing all the sound design. And don't get me wrong, The music slaps. Like all the sounds that like you can clearly tell he's passed on kind of slap. Like once again though, he's when you have an art team who is just like, yeah, we have like 100 things in the pipeline, they're just waiting to get implemented. Poor Jeff's like probably like, oh no. Because like those 100 units, right? It's not just one sound effect per unit. It's a suite of sound effects for that entire unit, right? Their walking, their movement, their sounds, their guns if they have any. And it's not like you can easily, I mean, you could like buy sound effects, right? But, you know, I doubt that would be probably like, you can buy guns and put them into your game. I'm not sure if you can buy sound effects and make them easily curtailed to your game, but maybe you can. As a starting point. Yeah, like don't worry. Yeah, Jeff's definitely put in some work in. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot of different things, right? Once again, there's currently 43 guns in the game, and they've maybe touched 4 or 5 of them from a sound perspective. And then you have like what, 4? I don't know how many units in the game exactly, right? Oh man, probably like 40, 45. Hold on, somewhere around there. I would guess maybe 30 if you're being like really conservative. Oh no, Jeff does a great job, right? It's just it's a time issue. Like, it takes a lot of time. And then too, right, Zombie, on that point also, you have the guns that need their own sound effects, and then you need all of the different modifications for the guns to modify the sound effects, and like, maybe not all of the mods, but like, you know, the muzzle brakes, the silencers. So for every gun, you might need like 3 or 4 different sound effects for just it firing. So multiply that by, you know, 43 guns. And we can say, for example, let's say they just have 2, right? Silenced and unsilenced, 86 guns now. And then so we'll say too, like, you know, some guns don't have silencers, so we'll just say 60, 65 guns. 60, 65 sound effects. All right, Merkava, I came here for you. Oh yeah, like, don't get me wrong, the sound's all great, but just, you know. All right, so here we have the Merkavas, right? Where whatever you want. These Merkavas, I think these are just type pentagon, right? Same issue, right? Where like the scale is once again different. These are bigger than the ones I think we had on. Are they? They might be the same size actually. Can't even fit in the crew hatch. And they could be drone tanks, right? That could easily be the case. But like until we actually see instances, for example, of miniature tanks being drone controlled. And new Mother Courage sounds too. Jeff is cooking. There's a lot to cook though. And keep in mind too, like, there's also, you can reuse some sound effects also, like the sounds of cocking your gun, the sounds of a trigger pull, the sounds of different ambient effects for guns. But like going that extra level too of having slightly different sound effects for different things can help out a lot too. And then there's the sci-fi guns too that should be coming eventually. The more futuristic guns for like Eurasia. And then like they're gonna need their own sound effects also. I mean, the only problem I have with that Blood Panda 2 is we do see in the EXO video one of the tanks piloted by an individual crewman, just like one crewman in full armor. It's hard, right? When the premise is a lot of this is surplus being used, I guess for guns, maybe not tanks. I don't know. It's just so weird.
Remember,
I mean, maybe those would be my next if there's another Q&A. Let's just say There's no longer a CM per fun dog, at least my understanding. But on that note, if there is another QA again, I will probably like have my question is, what's with the size scaling the game? Is this like canonical? Like when we see small size tanks, are those supposed to be there and like drone controlled, or what's going on with them? Them answering that question alone will, and like the giant sized exo on Elephant Mausoleum. What is there a giant sized human inside of it? What is going on? Yeah, I feel like that's probably, like, that's my current thought, Blood Panda 2, is like, there are placeholders for things that are not yet in the game. Though the props on Elephant Mausoleum, I would probably say are just because it was like one of the earlier maps, maybe they didn't have the scale down exactly right. It depends on which Type 10 you're looking at, Nomad, because there's differently sized Type 10s. If you go to the Destroyed Crawler and Frozen Titan, right, like not like 20 meters apart, you have two differently sized Type 10s. I don't think so. We'll go look in there next. Come on, give me the right quest. There we go. I'm enjoying being able to aim straight with him. It's a very nice feature. Let's see if you're redeemable. Wait, I can remove you? Does this work now? Can I actually use you that way? No way. Is the G36 redeemed? I still don't think it should probably be in the game, but that's just me. Like, it's cool, don't get me wrong. But like, I would rather have less is more. But if I can jank it out like this. I mean, I don't know the validity of that. And I also don't know if they're just, you know, bought from the asset store. All I know is that there's clear instances of, oh yes, this is perfect, of differently sized tanks that are the same type. And like, if you question the validity, you can just go back in the stream and like watch the first raid, or go to Frozen Swamp yourself, and then like look at the tanks outside the hangar and look at the tanks inside the hangar. They're the same tank. They are just scaled up and down. Oh my god, it's beautiful. Am I leaning a little bit too? You want to decide when doing this? Hold on, I'll go look at the Merkava in a second. I'm too busy admiring my handiwork. Yes, I'm admired my broken god. All right. What do you mean? This is what's it called? Are you saying this Merkava is to scale? Are you sure about that? I guess from the side, it just depends, right? I guess the tank top is. I would need to look at the layout of Merkava. And that's the problem too, right? Like, if it's 90% scale, it's going to look almost right. I think I would need to go look at the dimensions. Let me go look at Makava later. I think it's once again an instance where like it looks almost right, and so it is the illusion, right? That's like my whole point so far of this stream is you cannot take the scale of things at face value in this game when it comes to like props, because they are so often manipulated. Once you see the first instance, you have to not assume malice per se, but you have to assume that like so many different things have had the same thing done to them, right? Guns, props, like if it's an object for a level, right, it is going to get manipulated in some way. That is what we've been shown, right? It might only be by 10%, but like it is not to scale. And so like you'll have the shape and the silhouette of things that you know are bigger than what they are. But in game, if we're assuming that humans are, you know, normal size, they are not that way. All right, plug pull is done. Any other things too, right? If we go to like the actual unit in game, right, is it sized correctly in game also? Because the T90s always look pretty small too, right? Yes, and don't forget the black. They're all in AB positive. It's the blood type of the future. They have lost the ability to produce any blood outside of that. Everyone is AB positive in the future.
All signs point to this.
Maybe there was like a virus that targeted everything, or maybe there was a virus that ravaged the world and like only people who had AB positive blood were able to be immune to it. Nah, there's like apparently there's like a QR code on the bags too. If you scan it, it takes you to the actual like website or the like the asset pack or like the artists who made it. It was store-bought. I will say, Toothpaste, though, a Russian, like, nesting exo would be fucking hilarious and cool as shit. Like a nesting doll. You kill the exo once, it pops out of its inside shell, and you see a smaller version of that same exo. Yeah. It'd be so thematic. Oh, yes. I know it's for performance, but I don't think that can just be the case, right? Where the effects stop playing if you stop looking at them. And it's not for now, at least. Oh my god. Yeah, because you don't want to have a tank, like... There's no reason to make a tank larger than it should be, right? Well, like, Papa, yeah. Well, naturally, so there's the two things, right, Papa, are the shot trap at the very front, kind of like pushing projectiles into like the head cavity area. That and explosives, right? Yeah, I mean, Nomad, it was an issue in a patch before, and it has been fixed before. Like, I want to say it popped up in the October patch, and like it was gone in the December patch, and then popped back up this patch. Maybe they made like the tick rate for certain checks take longer, so it wouldn't check as often. The downside of that being that the effects now get delayed a bit to restart. Hold on, we can go to Frozen Swamp real quick. Cover you. Uruska. I can't easily raise Uruska. It's so sad. I'll have to do it the slow way. Curse G36 was fun. We can use Weird M16. From like a voyeurism or like from an aesthetic perspective, I have no critiques on the maps. However, ask me about my gameplay considerations, if you are so inclined. I do not think any of the maps suffer from aesthetic or being dull in the aesthetic regard. Going over my quick tier list real quick. S tier, A tier, B tier, like C tier, like maybe elephant you can not going to be, so S, A, like A/B, kind of B, C, C. Both of these are mainly C's. Stairway Gate like is probably D, and then Underground Cemetery is F. So for recapping, once again, very quick tier list without explaining too much. We can talk about it in stream if we want when we're playing. S, A, B, B, C, C, D, or sorry, D, and then F. And you're like, Stairway Gate, what do you mean? Why are you giving me? Hold on here. That's not the right M16, I don't think. Why are you lying to me? I need to clear out these thumbnails. No, it is right, actually. Alright, I'm assuming it's right. Despite the M16 lying to me here and saying that I'm wrong, I'm gonna assume it's right. I do feel like I need to clear out the thumbnails, though. The thumbnails do no longer feel accurate. What if it's a stock M16? I'll live. It's an unsilenced M16 anyway, right? No, okay, it's the right one. We're good. Just the thumbnail's wrong.
Matter for those below.
Really, like the only genuine question you need to ask yourself right now in regards to weapons is it silenced or not? That's it. That is really the only real choice you make when it comes to most guns is it silenced or not. Most guns for them right now play so similarly that that's the only real question. You can get a bit more granular with the weapon and damage, but other than that, it's just, yeah, silencer or no silencer. See you, Pace. Thanks. Oh, 20mm. I will say they made the muzzle, what's it called, the tracers on the 20mm much smaller now, but it still has like the really derpy fire rate slash spread and like velocity, where like the bullet's very slow velocity wise and it gets really floppy real quick. That is essentially the TLDR, no bad, yeah. Okay, first things first. We have guns that are basically like the size of our head, if a little bit smaller. The general, if we're going off normal human proportions, right? The head of most humans is about 7 to 7.5 inches tall. And once again, I'm sorry, I'm American. I'm going to be using probably inches right now. I don't know the direct conversion over to centimeters, but you can just pop it into a conversion real quick. But no, like, I would say those gun bores are a little bit smaller than our head. So 5, 6, 7 inch range, right? They're, even if we want to say they're 8 inches, right? They are by far, there are no way 10+ inch guns. First and foremost. Now, we are back here to this area of sin. So, we have what we have in front of us is the Type 10. I would say if we lay down, assuming we're 6 feet tall, we probably get to about, I would say, like here-ish, not all the way across. Essentially, these guns look about like 3-ish yards wide right now, maybe a little bit smaller than that. So a little bit less than 3-ish meters. However, if we go to not like 20 meters away, right? Not that far away, we have much more probably well-sized and appropriately sized Type 10s, right? Yeah, this is the Type 10 that I'm thinking, like, this is probably close to accurately sized, if not a little bit small still, but like way closer, right? And if we compare this gun to that gun, right, up there, this gun is a bit bigger, but not by that much. And considering this still might not be even appropriately sized still, yeah. The guns up there aren't that big. It's misleading, right? And, little Papa, that could be the case, right? They could be RC little half-sized tanks. If we ever have another Q&A, you know, that'll probably be my main question, right? Is, are these small tanks in the hangar of Frozen Swamp just like placeholders for now to get replaced later by like the bespoke unit supposed to go there? Or are they drone tanks? Are they miniaturized tanks? Yeah, Blood, it's exactly what we described earlier, right? It's just a tank that just like, it's like a slime from D&D. If it gets slit in half with a slashing weapon, it splits in two. Yeah, they're essentially like 150mm guns for the most part, looks like, around. Like, maybe like 120, like... They are slightly bigger, right? So they could be 5-inch guns, which is 127mm, and they could probably go up to 8-inch guns realistically in regards to their size. I would say 10 inch is getting well outside the boundaries of what they could possibly be. Yeah, no, considering, you would be surprised, actually, there is really not that much room on this thing for, like, anything. It actually, I didn't want to make it too granular on the Titans. You could critique the waste of space this area is. Like, if you're designing a ship, there's never instances of this much dead space, right? Like this whole cavity here. I want to leave, but you guys are not letting me. Fucking Euruskins everywhere. But like, from a ship design standpoint, right, is like, you would never waste this much space in this area. Also, you would usually have these silos. I mean, maybe this is the silo itself and missiles inside. But like, imagine these missiles going off and just roasting the whole entire compartment inside. Maybe that's why they don't fire the missiles, because firing the missiles basically kills everyone inside the ship. Oh no, so Blood. The interior of at least the Titan on Ashen Mesa, I didn't try out this one. The interior of the ship on Ashen Mesa doesn't render in until you get very close. Like, it's essentially an empty void. So yeah, it's an entire different segment for its own performance reasons, right? There is storage on the sides and like other areas, but there's not that much room. Like, there's not really that many living quarters, if any. Like, here's the thing, right? It's two different use cases, right? You have a ship outfitted with a bunch of guns for, like, offensive operations, perhaps, but then you have a bunch of, like, this giant area, right, where you think crew would be. There's just not that much area for crew.
Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Live today.
Yeah, like, they have different HP pools, yes. Weapons that you can one-shot the Etruscan females with, you cannot one-shot the males with always. Like, it's not greatly different, but you can one-shot the females and not one-shot the males with quite a few guns. All right, let's get back to murdering people. Let's actually go to Stairway, actually. My not so favorite map. Has anyone done this yet? I don't think they drop yet, right? At least I haven't gotten them to drop yet. Yeah, it could just be placeholders, right? Lots of things to be placeholders. The brother we've already done, so we're probably not going to find this, right? And what else? Two's fine for now. Let's definitely bring a silencer this time around, because we're gonna need it. $308? Let's stick to an RPK, I think. Alright, RPK is there. Plenty of meds, I think, and then we're good. Blood, yeah. He just chronically losing bro. I feel at this point, right, it's on him for losing so many brothers. At a certain point, he needs to go warn them to stop going to Stairway. Well, like, Nomad 2, I'm not sure of the validity, but I believe, right, a lot of the guns are from asset store packs too, apparently.
The surface provides options.
So I'm not, like, they seem at least somewhat very enamored with keeping these guns, which I guess is fine, right? Like, they do want to have that vintage feel of, like, using old stockpiles of surplus. I feel like you can have that feeling with a few guns, not a lot of guns, but I don't know, I digress. Like, you could have old M16s and old M4s and, like, old other guns, right? But, like, I think curtailing it to be only a few is very wise. Alright, let's go find his 20th brother. Yeah. Well, it's a question really like, right, is like how much... So, for those unfamiliar, sure, like, NATO in and of itself, right, it is a defensive alliance, but that's not really its primary role. It's one of its roles, right, but it's not really its primary role. Europa? Did we just find it again? Oh, we did it. Shit. Europa's primary role is logistics. their whole goal is to standardize an entire, basically, faction's worth of arsenals so that they're all intercompatible, right? That, you know, something from, like, you know, country A will work with the country B's weapons, right? That's the point of HO. That, like, you know, we have a standard, like, machine gun round, we have a standard rifle round, so on and so forth. And because of that, right, we can easily, you know, have all logistics work, right? That is a big aspect of NATO. And the consideration comes into play, right, where would they really be stockpiling all of these old firearms as opposed to just having a standard firearm and maybe a reserve firearm? See you, zombie.
A day well spent.
Like, I don't mind the concept of surplus guns, it's just that, like, there's currently a lot of them in game. Yeah, and I think, like, the whole... There's a certain aspect, too, right, where Europa is supposed to... I don't want to spoil my new video. It's like a month out, probably, or maybe 2 weeks out. Let's just say this. The factions, to some degree, embody the past, present, and future. You have Europa, which is stuck in the ways of the past. You have Eurasia, who's stuck in the ways of the current. And Eurasia stuck in the ways of the current, right? The corpocracy and, like, corporate interests, so on and so forth. And then you have Euruska, which is kind of almost like the things of yet to come, right? In regards to their melding of biology and technology to have them survive the future. And so it is important that for the faction of the past, they have heavy inspiration and references to that past, right? And the old equipment, the surplus guns, are a way of doing that. And I think you can still accomplish that kind of aesthetic without having, you know, 20 guns dedicated to it. Really? Oh, we're using the RPK without an iron, that's why. I was wondering why we were Doom mode again. Hello.
In good times and bad, the city shows its true face.
They could be, right? Thrombly in regards to, like, Euraska. Like, we haven't seen that level of body horror from them yet, but it's certainly plausible, right? They kind of, like, lean in that direction. I'm gonna go into the room over here. I think I'm okay, Mr. Mech. I feel a little Papa, maybe I'm wrong here, but, like, if I was commissioning guns for this game, I would want them to be a bit more worn down. Ow, fuck off. It is the forever winter, right? If you would, I think it'd be safe to assume it's cold. It's as in all maps, right? It's got a very cool aesthetic to it, but, you know, specific to itself, right? It's got a very bad gameplay loop, I think. It needs additional context. If we get the context that this is a transit map between two zones, okay. I can live with that. No, not necessarily, no. Not, well, like, well, not literally. Hold on. This is getting into a very old conversation now that we had at the beginning of the game's launch. What did I dedicate it? I didn't really dedicate it. I can still make other videos, and I've occasionally streamed other games. I wouldn't say so far as to dedicate it, and like I do say, or whatever else comes. Just my current interest at the time. My whims change. But no, so back when the game launched, right, I did say one of my core complaints, right, is I didn't really like the aesthetic of the guns. And one of my points being, right, is that when you like, a lot of my points come back to logistics and thinking about how you produce guns on a grand scale and don't run out of resources, how you fund the war, how you supply the war, so on and so forth. Because remember, wars are won from logistics. Now, on that note, one part of the Forever Winter's lore, right, is that whole logistical train has been, like, nuked and destroyed to oblivion, right? It's not really built up anymore. However, the old fabricators and factories before survived the nukes, and they were pumping out the guns, right? So they are almost like pre-war era, or like, you know, pre-nuke era, you know, fabricators. And on that point, right, would you really have a lot of plastic components being produced on a grand scale? In that regard, would you have a lot of polymer being produced, right? And so when I see guns like the APC-9 Pro, right, or, you know, guns that are heavy polymer, right, that, at least for Europa, I can understand P90 for, like, Euraska a bit more, right? Or sorry, Eurasia a bit more, but, like, when you get to, like, Europa, right, it feels wrong to have so many guns using heavy polymer, right? And, for example, one of my favorite guns in the game currently, and this is a realistic gun, right? I think it's a Swedish SMG, right? We go over to the MP Hellier. Like, this is kind of like the, like, somewhat of the aesthetic where I feel it fits the setting, right? Where you have, like, this very simplistic, robust, stamped metal gun. Same thing with the C96, right, too? If we go over to the C96, if I have one in my inventory right now. Yeah, like, for example, too, the C96, right, this stamped metal gun, right? It's easy to mass manufacture. Or just metal, right? Like, metal is still going to be common. You can recycle metal all the time. Recycling polymers is its own thing. And considering, too, part of the resource war, part of the reason why the war came out, right, was because of resources, right? Like, if you, like, I think Rillo's video, or was it Critical Rockets, but, like, one of the reasons for the war popping off, right, was a fighting over resources that kicked off into a nuclear war. And so, if it could have been for oil, it could have been for polymers, it could have been things to produce more goods, and so on and so forth, but, like, there's definitely inspirations behind that, right? Where, like, there's resource considerations. And I'm not saying, like, every gun needs to be, like, a stamped metal monstrosity, but I think from, like, a faction standpoint, you need to, like, zoom out a bit and, like, look at the factions and think of the logistics, right? What they have access to. And you can have instances of surplus guns, I think that's fine, right? But if we look at, like, say, for example, Grillo, I would consider, like, if I consider their primary service rifle to be the Scar and 50 caliber right now, all of these guns are surplus guns. If we exclude SMGs, right? Like, this is a surplus gun, surplus gun, surplus gun. And, like, to some extent, I would almost prefer if they just nuked all of these guns, for example, and made, like, a base M16, M4 model that you could upgrade that way. So, like, you could turn it into an M4, or you could turn it back into an M16 and, like, mess around with that. Maybe, for example, the M16 would have access to the M203, while the M4 wouldn't, and you can modify your gun that way. That way, you still have the customization and modeling of different guns, but then you have one platform that you don't have to worry about too much. But no, like, and, like, pistols too, right? We have how many 9mm pistols right now? Let me just go ahead and sell you some things. Like, there's a lot of pistols too right now, in the sense of, would, like, 9mm pistols, right? Like, there's a lot of pistols too right now, in the sense of, would, like, 9mm pistols, right? Like, there's a lot of pistols too right now, in the sense of, would, like, 9mm pistols, right? Like, there's a lot of pistols too right now, in the sense of, would, like, 9mm pistols, right? Like, there's a lot of pistols too right now, in the sense of, would, like, 9mm pistols, right? Like, there's a lot of pistols too right now, in the sense of, would, like, 9mm pistols, right? Like, there's a lot of pistols too right now, in the sense of, would, like, 9mm pistols, right? Like, there's a lot of pistols too right now, in the sense of, would, like, 9mm pistols, right? Like, there's a lot of pistols too right now, in the sense of, would, like, 9mm pistols, right? Like, there's a lot of pistols too right now, in the sense of, would, like, 9mm pistols, right? Like, there's a lot of pistols too right now, would we really have for Europa like 5-6 different pistols, or would it be like one service pistol and maybe like one pistol that was what's it called, stockpiled or surplus? And for Uresco, right, AL, like that's perfectly fine, right? In regards to, I have no problem with the AK being in the game. I would love to see them like change it aesthetically a bit to fit the faction more. But if that's supposed to be their surplus gun, then sure. Like maybe 2 to 3 surplus guns per faction, then I'll get your core repertoire of guns too, and then go in there for like there. And there's nothing wrong with this many guns in game, but when they currently have a blend of aesthetic and functionality, it just feels a bit, if their only consideration for gameplay is their aesthetics, right? And don't get me wrong too, like there is definitely like, I don't have the list on me right now. I have to go figure out where I put it. I condensed like the 43 guns, I think, into like 26 or so. But that, even that 26, I still kept some guns in there just for pure aesthetics, right? To provide some aesthetic differentiation. Let's go over to the AK. Potentially, yeah. That could be a case too, right? Where they're using the dead to create their own oil polymers. If we see instances too, right, where like they kind of allude to this also to some extent also, where energy in of itself doesn't really seem to be a barrier. They don't seem to have energy shortfalls. Where's my freaking AK? RPK, there we go. And so, for example, like very energy inefficient ways of producing polymer now become active. It's kind of like fracking, right? If you're unfamiliar with fracking, like people knew about fracking for a very long time. The problem was, right, is like there's not any reason to do fracking, a more expensive method, when easier methods of getting oils are still economical, right? And because, you know, those became harder and harder over time, fracking became more and more viable. The technology was really always there, and the concept was already behind fracking. It's just that there was no reason to do it yet. And so that's throwing ammo. And that could be the case for polymers too, right? If, say, for example, there's ways of turning human remains into polymers, it could be the case that because, you know, they can't easily get oil anymore, they produce their own polymers out of people. Could be wildly energy inefficient, but they might not care about that. I think I would want to like ground my guns in reason, Blood Panda, but stuff like that's always cool. I definitely do think we might see like not necessarily drug guns. We have no proof of this yet, but I'm still of the opinion, hold on, that the drones for Uresco, the ones that have like that white fluid, I think like I almost assuredly think that that white fluid is some way of dissolving people's remains or people's insides into biofuel. Because like right now it kind of gets like, it really feels like Uresco deploys these drones into like the back lines and other areas, and they build their hives up, and like they're self-sufficient. And one key aspect, right, is they need to be able to fuel themselves if that's the case. And so they could have a large amount of, say, fluid in their sacks, right? So they abduct people, they bring them back to their hives, and they inject them with kind of like a spider would, right? Inject them with the fluid to eventually turn them into a source of nutrition for them later. And it kind of reinforces the whole vibe with Uresco too of, once again, we have Europa who is like the sins of the past, right? They're, you know, restrained into the past and how things used to work long ago. You have Eurasia, which is kind of this new world order that functions off of what we currently experience in our environment today with, you know, corporate marketing and so on and so forth, and, you know, technology. But then you have Yoruska, which is kind of the future, right? The adaptation to the world we have today, right? A blend of biology and technology to push them into the future. And you could almost view the Yoruska drone not necessarily a war machine, but a creature of the future, right? Who, to survive in this desolate landscape you see here, has evolved or been forcibly evolved in their own way of harvesting humans for fuel, constructing their hives out of, you know, the flotsam of the world. Here comes the little... Can they hit me, by the way? I've never tried to... Can they actually hit me? So, right now it's just an effect, but man, imagine how funny that would be if you just get freaking, like, clotheslined by a dropped cyborg. I wouldn't be mad. I would actually just be laughing if that happened to me, right? Like a flying tank just getting clotheslined by a cyborg. All right, where's our lovely little pyro? If he's even alive at this point. Oh, is that him? That's not him, right? I don't think so. Is that him? No, it's like a squad. I mean, I believe it. It's been a concept for a while now, right? Like the XM25, right, is kind of like that, right? I don't think it was that long range, but like the concept of a sniper rifle grenade launcher is there. The XM25 being like the pinnacle of that, right? For those unaware, the XM25, I believe it was the mid to early 2000s, right? It's a 25mm grenade launcher with air burst, with a computer, right? And so essentially you would program the round to explode at a certain distance, so you could like shoot it into a room and it will blow up midair. And the reason why it wasn't adopted is because the US doctrine really does not like having riflemen without a rifle, and so, or grenadiers without a rifle. And the XM25 was too unwieldy and too large to really have that rifleman or grenadier have a rifle also, and have enough ammunition for that rifle also, right? And so it was never adopted. It's kind of like the whole thing with grenade launchers too, right? In the sense of like, for dedicated grenade launchers, like the 6-rounders and so on and so forth, there's a real push-pull of like, we don't want our grenadiers to be unarmed. Efficiency is one aspect too, like, right? But like, it's a weight consideration. Like that was a big issue too, right? For example, with the new round, was the weight of the ammunition was a huge concern, right? They wanted a bigger round, or a round that could do more damage through armor, or just get through armor in the first place, but they didn't want to lose the ability to carry lots of ammo. And so like that was why polymer, like, you know, the tasteless ammo came out too. They had to redesign ammo to actually like fit the requirements, because when push comes to shove, the military does not want a lot of weight on. Well, they do want a lot of weight on their soldiers. The soldiers are like, fuck no, we can only carry so much.
You never know what you will find until you look.
Yeah, he does that though. I think that's a critique too. I think of the new service rifle, right? Too, is it like, I haven't been following it very closely in a while, but like I know that, like, for example, a few of the reviews of it, right, was it's heavy and I can't carry much ammo. Yeah, good old jarheads. Dude, that poor Organ Mech just got kill stolen by the game itself. That, or like by him ground slamming, he Thanos snapped him out of existence.
Freedom. Found.
He does have like, I think like 2 new attacks animations with him, right? He's got he does a charge attack now where he like turns around and does a ground slam, and then he also has like it's either a kick or like he has a 360 cleave now too. So he has his regular charge attack where he will charge forward and then slam into the ground. He has another charge attack where he'll charge forward, turn around, and then slam. And now he's a third attack where he'll do like a whole like AoE 360 around him. I'm not sure of the exact range though on that. I didn't even try to. I didn't see Pyro, but like, I don't know why I take this knowing the fact that it bugs out half the time, and I never do it for that reason. When the U.S. military adopts a bullpup, we know the world has frozen over. That, or we're in a simulation. Much like you had to drag us kicking and screaming into a world where we had to use an intermediate cartridge. The military wanted to stick to 30-6 so bad. So yeah, no, I don't ever see the U.S. military doing a bullpup anytime in my future. I have not. And this is not me saying bullpups are bad. I'm just saying the military structure of the U.S. will never allow for bullpups to exist because of the stigma. We see Great Britain and we're like, no, we're good on that, thanks. Ashen Mesa. I don't mind the fury around, to be honest. Am I just blind? Can I not get? Well, you know what? We're gonna do it this hard way. We're gonna go kill a bunch of cyborgs. Wait, is this? We have 3 quests. We're all like, our only goal is to murder cyborgs. Understood. Orders received. Understood. I understand the objective. I will make you proud. I'm gonna bring you in. So for those unaware, they have reworked Painless to now use a round called Nitro Express. Nitro Express is a big game round. It's not... There's many different calibers of Nitro Express, but the general concept behind Nitro Express is a large kind of round, like round-nosed round. Essentially, like a lot of surface area, basically a giant hollow point, but not a hollow point. A giant soft round for big game hunting. Essentially, a lot of elephant guns use a round that's called something something Nitro Express, like, you know, 75, 70, you know, 60 Nitro Express. So this uses a big game round now, but the round itself isn't in the game, so you can't loot it. Essentially means that you have 500 rounds and that's all you get. You don't have a spot for a flashlight, do you? That's what I thought. I think I do want a flashlight on this. You don't either, do you? No. Think we have to use the saw here if we want to actually have a gun that we can see with a flashlight with. And do you have a flashlight? You do. Perfect. Let's Go buy some more 5.56 real quick. Not 50 cal. Yeah, there's definitely a, like, having played the entire Stalker series, right? Yeah, the Soviets got weird. They had lots of guns that were just kind of experiments with that platform. What if we make Bullpup AK? What if we make SMG AK? What if we make Sniper AK? I think it will be a secret, right? I don't think they want to get, like, they don't want to spoil things for us, right? I imagine when, like, they might say new units in the game, but I don't think they're gonna be specific about it, right? I think they want to surprise us. That kind of feels like, too, some reasons why they're, like, cryptic sometimes, is they do want to surprise us. That sense of wonder.
Stick together and stay alive.
Oh, I'm so slow now. I will say, they have made just, like, beelining across the plains much more dangerous now. Essentially, there's a good chance now in this map where a helicopter will move to the center of the map, and the helicopter's aggro is weird now. It's very sticky to you, as in, if you will draw its ire very quickly, and once it aggroes to you, it is either you kill it or you die. It just seems to not want to break aggro at that point. So it does make just like the pure sprint mentality through the middle of the map a bit more dangerous. Tanks do one-shot, they either one-shot or two-shot them, right? It's sometimes hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure they one-shot them. But who's to say if they got scuffed a little bit first? But no, yeah, tanks are like by far the best AA weapon in the game currently, because we have no other AA weapons. The Dragunov, yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right, Zenith, is like, if you look at a lot of Soviet weaponry, right, they basically like saw how useful and successful the AK was, and like, what else can we make out of an AK? So you have the Vitaz, which is an SMG AK. You have the Dragunov, which is a DMR AK. Like, it's all just AKs. That's not to say all of our guns with AKs, but like, they basically took the AK platform and experimented with it a lot. It's not literally an AK, like, it's not interchangeable, but like, it is a similar system to the AK in regards to like recoil and operation. And it's officially a DMR, but its MOA feels like it's otherwise, right? It's not that accurate. There's misconceptions on how accurate like the Dragunov is. It's not a sniper rifle, it's a DMR. And the Soviets had a very clear distinction on the accuracy on the gun in that regard. All right, so we're in my favorite little area. It sounds like, too, I will say, that this patch, they have... It feels like they took a volume slider when you're filing, when you're firing a silenced gun, and have the slider go down when the gun is firing. And then you have like all the funky designs too, with like, for example, the VKS and like, you know, what's it called? They're essentially 50 caliber like CQB guns. Come on. I will say this farming spot has lost a bit of its merit though, considering that God. I mean, the laser kind of works though. Even the bespoke laser on Painless is inaccurate. Hold on, let's go farther away. Oh God, it gets worse farther away. Oh no. Yeah, all I'm gonna say is that do not compare the first person point of impact, the third person point of impact, and then the lasers, because none of them line up, and it's saddening. It's maddening. It's not that maddening. It's accurate enough, but still. You would think that like the first person point of impact and third person would be really easy to line up, but I also, someone was saying too, right? I haven't tried it out myself, but like, they were saying they downed the helicopter in 200 rounds of this gun, which, if it's its advertised damage, means either the helicopter's got nerfed or the advertised damage is wrong. So, the advertised damage is 200 damage per round, which is what the old Painless was, and maybe that's changed. That or helicopters got nerfed. No, ow. Leave me alone. Look at me go. I should just play the game like this. People who just like are coming into the stream and not play the game before would be so confused if they saw this, I feel like. This is the whole new stream, guys. I apologize if you get motion sick. I'm actually, you know, saying that, I'm feeling a little queasy now too, actually, to be genuine. I do have VR and I do enjoy VR, but like it's something that I can only ever play for like 30 minutes because I get motion sickness. And I feel part of it's too though because of just like the low frame rates on some VR games. Like if I had like a solid 120, I don't think I would get as sick as quickly. But no. And like the weird thing is too, right? I can take Dramamine, which is supposed to reduce, like, for example, like drowsiness, not drowsiness, but nausea, dizziness, basically, you know, motion sickness. But like, it worked in that regard. However, like then VR gave me like the worst, weirdest headache, where like you traditionally feel headaches, right? Like migraines or headaches in the very front of your head, right? Like your frontal lobe area. But no, this headache was in the very back rear of my head. And it could have been muscles, right? Like it could have been my neck muscles being sore from like the, you know, the VR headset. But like it felt like it was coming from like my occipital lobes, like, right? The back lobes of your head that are in charge of vision. So it feels like almost like the drowsiness was, or the not drowsiness, but the motion sickness was one part of it, but it was really just my brain having issues like interpreting the data, I guess. It couldn't handle the VR. A little bit move. We do have like 3 quests for killing these little guys here, but yeah. But no. I imagine it'll go away in the future with better VR headsets in the future and like better frames. But no, it was real bad. The weirdest headache of my life. From a balancing perspective, I actually kind of don't mind the whole concept of like having a very difficult to reload gun where you can't really do it in raid. It introduced like it's an interesting balancing perspective, right? If this is the intent of like it's hard to reload, so you can't do it in raid. I will say though, I'm a bit confused by the whole like. Do you guys think we should still get free ammo? Like, so right now, right, when you pick a gun for your inventory, it will come with a free first magazine. And so, like, if you have a drum mag for an RPK, every run, no matter what, you will start out with like 95 or 100 rounds, right, for that gun. For free. Like, it doesn't cost you anything. It just comes with the gun stock. I'm not sure if I exactly love that. I kind of like the idea of like scarce ammo, or rather, if you're gonna be very picky and choosy around the ammo you want to use, you have to be cautious with how you use it. Well, no, like Lil Pop, on that note too, right? It's like any gun that has that many rounds internally. Like, for example, loading up those cyclical drum mags for like the 22 LR. Like Thompson ripoff, whatever it was called. Like, you can fire that gun in like 5 seconds, but like it takes like 10 minutes to fucking load up the magazine again. It's like that, right? Like for Painless, for example, being like that with Nitro Express, yeah, it would be excruciating, right? It would probably take you a solid hour at the best. It might take longer than that. And it might require its own feed, right? Like, you might need to actually use a machine to load it up. Hello, guys. Don't mind me. Bye, Freds. How full are we? We're not even close to full yet. So much alcohol. I will say the looting change has been a lot slower now. I'm still not a big fan of the circle itself, but it works. It is kind of crazy, Sid, how like this whole crawler is an infinite spawn point of like drones that will just climb out of the metal. It's crazy. Gotta be careful here. I actually do not have infinite ammo. How much do I have left? Okay, I still have enough, like, I at least have 200 rounds on my, or 300 rounds on my gun. So in my Titan video, right, I kind of highlight this whole idea of like cyborgs claiming destroyed Titans. It makes a lot of sense too, right? Like, it can be a refuge in what usually is a very hostile world. Now, their ability to climb out of metal is a different story entirely, but the concept of these guys being inside of here is not crazy. All right, I need to leave. I got 100 kills on me, I think, now. It's time to leave. I want to loot more, but unfortunately, HK's on me, and then I am probably getting really low on ammo. No, that was an EOD. It was a hunter killer, but God, I hate this so much. The fact that they fire from so far away. Okay, they're distracted, thankfully. No, go back to shooting them. No. I might die here. Good. Alright, we're good. Leave me alone. Thankfully, I probably, well, I didn't search for it, but I probably do have fairly infinite amounts of alcohol right now for healing, but... Alright, time to sprint to the exit. Yeah, I think you could only... It would be interesting, actually, if you could get quest units on maps without necessarily having the quest. Because, like, right now, if you don't take Payback, you don't have Tormentor, you don't have the Sniper quest, you won't ever see those units on the maps, right? It kind of would be interesting to see them passively on maps, like maybe a very rare spawn, right? But very seldomly on maps. Oh no, it's been like canonicized or canonical now that they use it to cope. So like cyborgs are still there mentally, but they've had their free will stripped away. They kind of have to do their orders. And they don't have a say in it, but they still have like their own thoughts. Despite not being able to act on those thoughts for the most part. And so alcohol is one of the ways they cope with it, right?
An exit is an exit. Clean.
And it could be like used as a reward too, say for example, right? Like say for example, you do this objective, we give you some alcohol to make you feel better about yourselves. To some extent, yeah. Yes. Yes. We weren't even full. We did have to leave pretty early just because we can't loot that easily anymore. But still, I think it was a pretty good haul. And the whole thing with Eurasia too, right? Is Eurasia has no issues creating food anymore, or it never did really. It's like one of its strong points, and so it has the luxury of producing alcohol fairly cheaply because of all of its surplus food. It has other issues though, but they're not related to food. It's kind of interesting too. I will, like, you think that this fight's at a grand scale, even this, like, the fight is local, but you think it's much bigger than it is. We killed, like, you know, say for example, maybe like a couple hundred cyborgs, and like, oh my god, you won the war for us, essentially. They're enamored with us. All right. Plenty of loot now, plenty of alcohol now to sell. Also have so many gotchas too. Let me just go and open these, I guess. Open them all. Anything good? No, not really. 8 rig lights. All right, we've done every map so far except for one. It is time. It is time for the stealth map. I think Lost Signals is still bugged, unfortunately. Lost Signals seems to have the bug from before, right? Where it's hard to loot the items again. There we go. Let's play Scab Girl. Haven't played her yet today. I don't have a jump? What the hell? Come here, you. You start stockpiling a bit also. We will bring... we'll bring some cryo ammo just in case. It's not gonna do anything for us if we get caught though. We'll bring a med kit, but we're not gonna rely on anything really. Yeah, Demas, I saw that bug. I don't really, like, I know that bug exists. I don't really have the reason to exploit right now. I have plenty of money and basically anything I would need, so. But no, that was reported pretty quickly too. I think it was like a day or two someone reported it, the whole bug with that. Of infinite, like being able to run that quest infinitely. Ghoul, it's literally, yeah, just their frame, right? Like, it's literally just their frame. If they're heavily armored and like big boys, it's the guy. If it's thin, it's the female. That's as simple as it is. Just their pure silhouette, right? Very easy to identify. I mean, like, Demos, on that note though, right? This is a PvE game. It's really your own like, as a PvE game where you don't really affect anyone by doing online play. Like, it's not a live service game. It's not like a competitive game in any aspect. If you want to cheat, that's your prerogative. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to cheat, but if you want to, I have no problems with that because you're not affecting anyone else. Hey, stop that. Fucking drones! You know what? The dog is angry, but I don't care. I mean, if that's your prerogative, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with it either way or the other, right? If you find an exploit and you want to use it, yeah, go ahead. If you find an exploit and you don't want to use it, yeah, that's fine too. The world is your oyster. And like, that's the whole refreshing part of this game too, in some aspect, right? Where, like, they don't need to care about that. Like, for example, with accounts or players, right? All I'm gonna say though is don't get mad if something changes and they do something that ruins what you did before. Say, for example, one of the guys apparently farmed like 1,000 water, and then they changed the system because it's EA, and they got very upset. And like, yeah, you sunk a lot of time into a game, and like it got stolen from you, but like, you should absolutely know that's definitely in the cards. It's an early access game. Things can change. And on that same point too, right? If he felt like he gets robbed, he could go install a cheat and say, for example, just add 1,000 water to his account. Who's to say he can't do that? It's a PvE game. He could go through the extra effort of reclaiming that what he lost, right? I mean, it's not really relevant to the current system at all, but... And like I lost, I think 300 water on this account, right? I was never farming for water, but just by playing the game, by doing quests, you passively rack up a lot of water. So I lost like, I think like around 300 water. And I'm not, I'm fine with it. I don't even think like converting it to currency would have done anything anyway, right? Because like all that would do is just give me infinite currency too. Yeah, like Lil Papa, like he gave himself guns because they're very hard to get right now. That's fine, yeah. I wouldn't even really say there's progression in the game currently either, right? Within, I did like a new player stream net last week, right? Where we started a fresh account, but like for the most part, once you finish the intro quest line, which is about like 5 quests, essentially all of the content in the game is unlocked to you right off that. Like, essentially getting whatever you want is like a quest away. I mean, they're out of the military, but they're still working on Eurasia's behalf, so they're just a liaison. Glory to Eurasia. Like all of the quest givers, right, except for Shade with the scavs, right? Yeah, they're basically like, they're no longer like combat frontliners, they're just liaisons for those factions, they're emissaries. So they're still aligned with their factions.
Another day, another dollar.
Yeah, we lost. The drones detected us. Them damn drones. I mean, like, there's not really anything in the game currently that kind of has that connotation. But for the most part, yeah, like you essentially act as a mark or a gun to hire. I do think that runs contradictory to some extent of at least what the trailers show off or kind of thematically give. So like if you go watch a lot of the trailers and the earlier PR for the game, right, they kind of emphasize that you're a scavenger trying to survive, so on and so forth. You're not like, you're usually outgunned and outclassed by everything around you. And right now, a lot of the quests really just push you toward the merc route, where you are actually somewhat exceptional in regards to your skills over your peers, and that you are a valuable merc to hire and to do these jobs for. Like, we're being hired to, for example, assassinate certain people. Like, we're assassinating a pretty high-end unit, Tormentor, for Europa. And then if we find payback, right, we're now going to be killing a very, like, you know, renowned sniper. I mean, you can have, like, there's different qualities to, like, you can have that aesthetic. I don't know, like, I can see where you're coming from, but at the same time, and like, I'm not saying one's bad or the other, right? I'm just saying that the PR or the marketing of their earlier content does, at least for me, not line up with what I thought it was going to be. And it can still change, right? Don't get me wrong, but like, there is that aspect of it doesn't perfectly align. It feels a bit missed. All right, where are you? Or are you, sniper? I'm trying to find the sniper quest on Asham Mesa by resetting the quests right now constantly. Nope, it's not here. Demos, yeah, I don't really... We could get into the water video again. My streams last week, I think, especially the Monday one, perhaps, definitely went into that. I don't really want to rehash it all that much. But no, all I'll say is that I think the tone of the video, I don't have issues with the content of the video. The tone of the video was a bit missed for me. Bit of a miss. It wasn't what they did, it's how they said it. And I think we're good here. Bring a few more medkits in. City ruins. I think we're good. Eustace, we're currently kind of in this gray / war area, so we don't really have that many farms around. For Europa, they kind of allude to its protein farms. So like ants, roaches, like insects, and just other like low forms of life that easily make protein. So probably just, yeah, protein farms for Europa. In Eurasia, right, they actually have agriculture. They're able to apparently revitalize the dead soil to actually carry crops. That, or they bioengineer crops to actually live in dead soil. And then Euruska basically probably aligns with Eurasia. They probably get food from Eurasia or have similar tech to Eurasia in that regard. Or have engineered themselves to not run on that type of fuel anymore. For example, like, you know, the Orgamech kind of being still kind of human because of its core, but it doesn't run on, like, you know, regular fuel consumption, regular, you know, food consumption anymore, right? No, it's actually not the tone, like, if you're referring to me, Psycho Pete, what I mean by the tone is that it came off very... If you play D&D or have played D&D, you might have encountered a DM like this. It felt like the DM was unhappy with the player's choices and was reluctantly agreeing with them, but doing so kind of biting their tongue, right? It felt very passive-aggressive. It felt like, I don't agree with your choice, but you're the players and I'm the DM, so this is how this works. I'll be up. And like, that's what I mean by it was a tonal miss for me, right? Like, it's naturally, it's their lore, they can do what they want with it. But like, the way they presented the information to us felt a bit like that. And I don't think it's a big deal. On the grand scheme of things, I think it's a very, like, fairly unimportant matter, but like tonally that's just how it felt for me. Oh, we did a mistake actually. They might be dead. Okay, they're not. So one thing to actually note is that if you take the sniper quest and the gold brick quest, they're hostile to each other. And when gold brick spawns here and the sniper spawns here, they will actually kill each other before you can kill either of them. Okay, hold on. I want to... my players, no. Not that type of players. I love my players, but they're not that type of people. Ah, yes. The well-constructed mechs. 120 mil takes out the quad cannons. No, I noticed this earlier too with the RPK. You can strip these mechs pretty quickly with just like a 7.62 gun. Or really any gun, to be honest. Like, their weak points right now seem to have very little health. It's, see, like, only that many shots and its gun's gone now. I mean, I would like things to be aligned a little pop-up, but this is more of just like 5-6 shots with a 20mm and like the mech's now disarmed. Hold on, go for its cannon too. I actually do think the Gatling gun's pretty resilient though. Like, if I could hit it. Nope, it's gone too. All right, so there's one MG left. You can kill the medium mechs too. They have a lot of HP, but like you can kill them. But they're like, they have a lot of HP, but you can just like strip the parts much easier than that. There's one gun left on here I need to get. It's a like MG on their chassis. It's been a while. I missed. Oh god, I thought I missed. That would have hurt. Demos, that is the old bug that is still persistent. So essentially there are weird instances, right, where essentially that unit is fighting another unit and it will occasionally take pot shots at you, right? And essentially you are dying to that, like that random shot that will just kill you. Yeah, so like there's only 4 currently unkillable units in the game. It's Toothy, Mother Courage, the Grabber, and the Orgamech. Everything else is on the, can be killed. That being said, like, as long as you have height, everything is that you can kill is very easily killed. You can kill medium mechs on the ground, it's much more dangerous. The only thing that's, like, really dangerous if you're on the ground is the chopper. Okay, I have completely disarmed the mech. The mech now has, I think, nothing left. It has no quad cannons, no Gatling gun, no minigun on the side, and no cannon or arms for cannons. It is now just unable to do anything except for melee. And all it took was like maybe like 30 rounds of 20mm. Poor little guy. It will actually die pretty quickly tier 2. It's taking a lot of damage actually. Oh shit, they're actually aware of me. That's not good. It shouldn't take this long actually. I feel like mechs have, I think, like around 160k HP, and these squads will usually do about like 2k to you in a second or two. Is it winning? Did you just win? All me, baby. All me. Get wrecked. Naturally, I will say, like, they did the heavy lifting for sure in regards to doing damage, but we did just two-shot it at the very end there. Nah, but like medium mechs they're scary, but like they're actually manageable. Choppers output so much damage and like they're harder to hit. You usually can't die that quickly, or you usually die quicker before you can actually kill it yourself. If you have cover though, it does usually turn the tide around pretty quickly. Yeah, that poor robot's wife and kids. So sad. It had to come in though. I'm curious too though. We technically killed a medium mech, and I don't think we have HKs yet. All right, so we didn't find Tormentor, we didn't find Payback Guy, Gold Brick, we didn't find the Sniper, but we did kill a medium mech. I feel like that should count. I'm surprised we didn't get HKs though. It's very weird, right? Typically speaking, like in the previous patch, you would have weird instances, right? Where like firing the 20mm once or twice would get HKs on you.
Hard run. But at least we made it.
Womp womp. Though we should probably get rid of Sniper Sweep if we're planning to do Gold Brick. They do just contradict each other, unfortunately. It feels kind of weird too. Like, this is definitely looking into it way too much, but like, how in the chaos of war, how they know so effectively that you've done your job and it was you and not someone else, or by coincidence, right? Like, why does it have to be you that kills them? It feels like so much more should be like proof of death as opposed to, say, for example, you killed them. Because at the end of the day, right, does it really matter? Like, I guess if they're trying to weasel their way out of paying you, that's some degree, but like at the same time, right, it's like, do you really care who kills them? Hold on, let me actually get a jump too. Make this a bit easier than last time.
I hate the surface.
Just a car, I feel the same way. I do feel like there's definitely a tonal issue going on right now that needs to be rectified. All the quests feel like they're from Tarkov, not from like Ratkov, if you will. All of the quests make you feel like a Chad, not like a rat. So, Ghoul, there's not that much definitive lore, but the connotation of the context that we basically get is that essentially there's a bunch of... So the first thing we need to broach on this topic, right, is that the world has gotten very small again. Or sorry, very big again, right? Globalization's now gone. Like, long-range communication is no longer a factor. And so when you have these different theaters of war, they are very much self-contained, right? So for example, we're, you know, West Coast US, this is a theater of war, while Europe its own theater of war, Asia's its own theater of war, so on and so forth, right? And there's an AI essentially in charge of each of these theaters of war for each faction. And there still might be elements of human high command in certain areas and certain factions, but for the most part, each side will essentially have an AI in charge of a local theater of operations with their own kind of prerogatives and, you know, choices they make, right? Say, for example, there could be instances, right, where your open soldiers are shipped off to the frontier, but say, for example, the AI here, their interests aren't purely aligned with Europa's. They might have their own interests at this point, or their own objectives. So, like, essentially, yeah, the TLDR is, yeah, like, the AI, there is AI now that's kind of controlling a lot of the wars. The high command, there's not really a knowledge of who is necessarily leading the factions, per se, which kind of lets you kind of feel like it's AI to some extent. Think of it this way, right? Think of it this way. Once you get to a certain level of automation, say, for example, this, right? Say you worked for a business, and that business's payroll was automated. There was never checks and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not saying businesses aren't automated, right? But bear with me here. And say, for example, you received a check every week, every 2 weeks, every month, right? If you suddenly eliminated, like, say, every single middle manager, or not middle managers, right? Say, for example, like, you eliminated the entire C-suite and executive structure for that business, right? Where essentially there's no longer a cohesive direction that business is pointing toward, because there's no direction, there's no one to say the direction that business is supposed to head toward. How long could you just keep going into work, doing your job, collecting a paycheck? How long could your managers, your middle managers, right, kind of keep giving you a direction to go in, giving you tasks to do, kind of functioning the day-to-day of the business, right? That's kind of what almost most, if not all, factions are currently like, right? Where there's no longer this executive suite, there's no longer this C-suite of higher level managers or, you know, people to drive the business a certain way, right? But you still have all of the infrastructure or shadows over of like that business, right, still existing. You still have the workers, you still have the lower tier managers, so on and so forth, and they're just going through the motions, right? They're still doing what they're supposed to be doing, but there's no longer a cohesive direction they're heading toward, right? They're no longer fulfilling their job for a certain reason. And that's kind of a lot of the factions, right? The shell of the business is still there, but there's no longer anyone there to change the direction. And so you have a bunch of these AIs that were designed to help the businesses, or help the corporations and help the, you know, government succeed and do their jobs. And during the nuclear war, right, the executives got wiped out because they're fragile, but everything else remained. And so you still have the AIs doing their job and giving out orders and so on and so forth. You still have the middle managers and the workers, right, because they're replaceable. But you no longer have like an overall direction. You kind of have no one with the level of authority to say stop the war or to barter for peace. There is basically a new status quo, if you will. Also, where's all my guys? Where's Tormentor? Where's Payback guy? Wait, is that him? Nah, it's just a silhouette. Essentially, to some extent, right, people are fighting over land, but they aren't sure necessarily. All right. They're fighting over land. They're fighting over like objectives they're given, but they're unsure what those objectives are for or what they mean, right? And like that's a part of it too, right? The task-based AI, the AI of these local theaters of operation, will withhold supplies and information and food and water and all that good stuff until you do your objective, right? So like it no longer becomes it no longer becomes questioning command. It's like once your troops get out here to a certain extent, it's not of you know, do I question these orders? It's do I want to survive? Well, you know, the way I know to survive is following the orders of this AI, and that the actual reason why the AI is telling me to do this is unknown. But you know, the AI was never programmed for peace. It was programmed to win the war or win conflicts, right? It's programmed to win, not to cause a draw, not for peace. Because naturally, right, when you like think of this right way, right? If you're programming some AI for war, you want to make it really good for war, right? You don't want to make it think for like, you don't want the solution to be peace. That can be up to the humans, right? Leave it to the humans to decide when peace is on, and we can shut off the AI and stop the AI, right, from doing its thing. But the humans no longer exist anymore in that capacity. There's no longer someone to tell the AI to stop. And so the war rages on. And because it's like, you know, we're 40 years into the future, right? Where all of the factories and all of the like, everything has been built up to facilitate this war now. It would almost do more harm than good to stop the war. And technically speaking, you can't, right? Because the guns keep getting produced. It's all automated now. It does raise a question of logistics, I will say, though. Like, there's plenty of questions of logistics and how, like, for example, these fabricators are pumping out endless weapons. Like, where are they getting their resources from? Especially considering, like, a lot of stuff was nuked, but, you know, recycling and stuff. Scraping the world. Yeah, I mean, there is loss over time for material retrieval. But, like, you can get pretty efficient with it, right? Especially if you're, like, willing to basically, once again, ignore the energy input you would need. Like, if you take the energy input, like, recycling, once again, is very good, but the whole thing behind it, right, it's very energy intensive, right? But if for some reason you have very cheap available energy, a lot of stuff like that becomes, you know, available to you. No, I think it was just cool that, you know, during the first days of the war, right, everything was nuked to hell and back, and everyone was, like, all of the high command areas were a casualty.
Well, we're still here. Let's count for something.
And I think in Rilla's videos, right, he says too, right, for the most part, no one knows who's exactly in command of these giant factions anymore. And like the business analogy earlier, right, there might be no one in charge of these factions anymore. It might just be an AI going through its motions or its old instruction list. Well, we tried twice. We got neither of them. So sad. Let's go Stairway another chance. Let's start from Wall 2. I wouldn't even say it's coordinated chaos per se. I would honestly say it's the exact opposite. It's chaotic order. It sounds like a contradiction, but like the only faction we don't know of is really Eruska, and Lordos gives us kind of lore on Eruska to some extent, but Eurasia and Europa are both states of control. Europa being a totalitarian regime, right, a police state, and then Eurasia being like a corpocracy, right, like a corporate nation that has, it's essentially a modern day serfdom. You have the rich and then you have the not rich. Those are the two classes. Like, once again, Europa is like the sins of human past. Eurasia is the sins of the current humans, and then Eruska is the sins of the future. I'll take one. Let's do old man. Let's do old man. Let's also do the scar. A fancy scar. Are you fancy? You are fancy. Can I make you less fancy? Or rather a bit more derpy. Oh, that looks fun. Beautiful. All right, 50 cal. Meds. Do I need more ammo? I think I'm okay. A little bit more. Hey, Pack. Not really much. Just, you know, chilling, playing the game, talking. Oh no, there is just a grab respawn on this map, Demos. Blade, I don't know. I still need to answer. I still need them to answer for their crimes on the size of cows. Or sorry, rather the size of the balloons. Ghoul, I think a big part of it is that the actual war fronts and the theaters of war are actually pretty small. I think a lot of the world is a wasteland. I think there's only a few major like mega cities that are populated very heavily. And like outside of that, there's a few basically major conflict zones from the start of the war that have persisted. And like those areas of the war don't change, right? Like there's a push and pull, but for the most part, right, it's a status quo. Yeah, no, the flyover states are gone. Though, like on that note, though, like the mega city of North America, right, was supposed to accompany like or rather be the entirety of North America, including the flyover states. For those unfamiliar, the flyover states are basically the middle of America. The states that have nothing in them, they're cornfields. But like the whole, like at least some of the lore says, right, in regards to the entire North America continent was basically one megacity, right? And like the reason why we don't see it now is because of the nukes, because of desolation, like they have been reduced to dust. Yeah, well, it's a stalemate in some regards, right? Yeah, like the factions have specific like certain weaknesses, right? That they can't really exploit all that much. So, for example, Eurasia has high tech, but they don't have a lot of people. Or rather, they don't have the means of producing such high tech at volumes to the point where they can sufficiently arm all of their people. They had to convert them into like defective cyborgs. But Europa has the means of like having a large military and arming them at least somewhat decently. Not great, but like a lot of surplus. Yeah, the logistics are something to consider a lot of, right? No, no, not me, not me. That's a sniper, he needs to die, and he hurts. Alright, he's dead. No, you're not, you don't have a red diamond. You're not allowed to shoot me. It's against the rules. You're not following the rules. But for example, case in point, right? The aggro in the game still kind of has that bug where occasionally things will shoot you, despite them not being allowed to. Oh no, yeah, it's definitely like a shift, right, Lil Papa? Like kind of a flipping of the script, where Europa and NATO are like kind of the wave tactics of humans, and then you have Yoruska and Eurasia who are more like high tech and like specialist. Fresh, it is better. No, like it is. Both the AI and gunplay are better. They still have their bugs and quirks, but they are vastly better. And like 99% of the time they do follow the rules. It's just that 1% of the time they don't follow the rules, you notice. But that 1% bug has been there for a very long while now. Hey, Toothy. Wait, really? I haven't experienced that, but I don't play Gunna that much. I'm gonna go try that out, actually, Rich. I'm genuinely curious if that happens. That's very interesting. Well, and there are pictures too, for example, Ghoul, of like European life for the most part, and it seems like, despite, you know, it being harsh, it does seem like a relatively normal, like dystopian like life, right? You have a small house or apartment, right? Or apartment really, or unit, if you want to call it that. But like, you have a family, you live your life, like you're in a police state, but like you can still function and live and have jobs and so on and so forth, right? It's not a total collapse. Society still exists. And then you have the PR of Eurasia, right, where it's like it shows that they actually do have like very high fancy areas, but it's likely like a PR marketing scheme. I feel like they have way too many refugees and issues in regards to building infrastructure, it seems like, to facilitate, you know, civilians and like lower tier citizens. Yeah, so Eurasia has wave tactics, but it's their wave tactics are a way of them trying to equalize that. A few different factors, right? Like one being they don't have enough production of high tech effective equipment to actually do anything. Essentially, like, Eurasia has the cream of the crop technology weapons and armor and stuff like that, but they don't have enough means producing them to equip their entire army. And would they even want to, too? It could be a doctrine thing also, where they don't really view their lower class of citizens as being worthy. But the big thing with Eurasia, right, is they have conscription of lower tier citizens, basically poor people, and refugees. Because people flock to Eurasia for the food, right? They know that they have plenty of food, but they don't seem to have plenty of space. And so, along with that consideration, they will forcibly, you know, take refugees and lower class citizens, people who are extra, if you will, turn them into cyborgs, and then ship them off via their solar powered bombers across the world to different fronts, as their way of like supplementing their elite infantry. So, yeah, like I mentioned, right, in regards to Yoruska being the sins of the future, like Lordos, for example, is an example of that, right? It is Yoruska trying to adapt into this new world order, this new future, this new environment, and the way they see humans surviving into that is to strip away almost all of the human elements of the human, right? Like there's a possible, like, Lordos might just be an engram, and by an engram I basically mean a copy of a copy. He is the facade of a person, right? He might just be literally essentially this, right? Imagine if you take an AI and you try and program them or give them the personality of a specific person, right? If you've ever played Soma Mech. If you have not played Soma, I would say definitely watch a playthrough of Soma or play it yourself. It's a horror game, but it's much more like a visual, like science fiction novel with horror elements. If you've never seen it or played it, it's got a good story to it, but like where my mind goes with Lordos and the Orgamechs is it's Yoruska's way of solving the issue of humanity into the future where the world is just hostile to them existing. It is Soma. And there still might be organic elements in there, but like I think it is more of the illusion of personhood. It's for example, think that if the Yoruska AI had the prerogative or the heavy influence of we don't really care about the war all that much, you make sure life exists in the future. That is your prerogative, Mr. Matron AI. And so your goal is to try and do like a Noah's Ark where you try and mold things into a way that can survive the future. And maybe, for example, the Yoruska AI never got to the point where it could solve a future where humanity would survive as they were. And so in its place, it has put humanity into a shell. One that no longer needs food or water. Lurking, I don't think an AI winning the war is possible. So on that note, Lurking, the massive amounts of population the lore says it has kind of contradicts like the massive war that's going on. And so one of the thing has to be true, right? Either the population's not as big as they saying, or the war is a lot smaller than it actually is. And my mind goes to the world is a lot, the conflict is actually a lot smaller than what it is. A lot of it's just wasteland. And maybe the fights will shift here and there, but I do not think logistically, like, the factions can have, like, it is a global conflict and it's large of scale, but it's not so large of scale where it can ever overpower the just natural repopulation of the Earth or of the human factions at this point. Yeah, fresh. Yeah, that's like they can't really add a lot more to the factions themselves because there's not much more room left to introduce a global player, and it would change the lore itself. But like, yeah, sub factions is how they do that. And they're talking about too, right? For example, like mini factions inside factions too. For example, like Spec Ops or like the GIGN or the SAS or so on and so forth. Sumac Trench. Yeah. I am curious though if they're ever going to try to rectify the whole issue in regards to the tone of the quests though. Or are we just going to lean more into being mercenaries now? And that's just our thing, and that's where the game's gonna go. The stickers on Lordos, there is, I have an Orgamech video. I go over most of the writing on the Orgamech. So for example, his shoulders and stuff like that, I go into there. So Orgamech video. I can't recall what's on his shoulder pads. It might be down in the comments too. So go to the Orgamech video, go to the comments, because it was being a non-native, you know, I only speak English. So like I have to rely on outside translations and so on and so forth. I was not able to translate reliably what I saw on the Pauldron, so I think someone in the comments did it for me there. So if you go to the Orgamech video, go to the comments, it should be like, I might have pinned it. If not, it should be one of the top comments. It is like generally like a downside of trying to use purely in-game models to like get the inscriptions off of. Sometimes they're very worn or distorted and hard to see or hard to read. All right, let's say 36 I'm off. Put you on. And we're good. Justicar, that's a great analogy, Justicar, in a sense of, yeah, like think of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. You know you have troops over there, you know there's a conflict, but it's so far removed that it never really affects you. Like, you know that people like work jobs, produce guns for that war. You know people produce arms and, you know, other things for that war, right? Like with Ukraine too, for example, right? You know that war is currently happening in Ukraine. You know, like there's a conflict there that's of a decent scale. It's not a global conflict, but like there's plenty of fighting going on both sides and people dying, right? It's very akin to that. Now multiply that by like a factor maybe 50 or 60 across the world. Like there's all of those like kind of scale of conflicts happening everywhere. But as long as they're not on your home front, you're fine. It's still in your mind, but removed. I do think I love the concept behind a 50 cal scar. I think it needs to kick a lot harder. It's rough though, because I don't think like, hold on. Wait, what? What the hell just happened? How did I just die? There was like a blue screen and then, what? Is that a bug? How the hell did I just die? I've never seen that before. I don't think I was that low HP. Oh, I wonder if I got headshot. Okay, so there has been an instance before where I have received massive amounts of damage and I didn't know why. I wonder if there's just a chance you can get headshot now, and that does like a scar headshot doing like insane amounts of damage. And yeah, the blue screen was really weird. I don't know what the fuck was up with that. But I wonder if we just got like domed in the head by a scar and just got murdered that way. Huh. Also, let me go over to Gunhead 2 and see if I bug him out by crouching. And the guy was saying in chat, right, there is apparently a bug with if he crouches Gunhead. He apparently pops off his primary gun. So let's try that real quick. Yeah, Acolyte. So essentially, if like when you join someone's lobby or they join yours, everyone in that lobby has access to the donation box. So anyone can drop their stuff in there, and so anyone can pick it up. Yeah, I don't know if that's the case, but like that's my current thought, because like we lost. I wasn't that low, I think, and I instantly just died like from like a few bullets, right? Very weird. But there's been one other instance this patch thus far where I lost a lot of HP and I didn't know why. And it could have been that. Alright, so what we're looking at here is we're trying to see if when we crouch, does Gunhead just start popping off? let me try on the HUD for this actually to make sure I have the right key too. So by default, when we want to shoot, it's going to be the C key, or the Q key, right? Nope, not for me. So if I can just shoot Q right now, I will shoot. Does not seem to be doing it. I will say the sound effect's bugged out, but that's a separate thing entirely. Maybe your key, like, do you have like a fancy keyboard perhaps? Is it registering? Go to like MS Word and like see, or Notepad, and see if like when you hit C, is it also producing a Q? I have no idea if Gunhead has a hitbox. I know, for example, like a lot of the like robots don't, like the cyborgs don't. Well, sorry, the regular cyborgs do. The scramblers and the crawlers don't have hitboxes. Same thing with the drones too. No weak, to my knowledge, there's no weak spots on the drones. You know, it'd be really cool, by the way. Imagine if you could get like a mini Rat King mask for Gunhead. And say, like, that would be such a cool fucking perk. So imagine instead of like Gunhead's Gunhead, you can replace his Gunhead with like a Rat King mask and give like a buff to your allies. A morale buff. I like Gunhead. I don't play him all the time, but like, he makes the game a lot more interesting in a lot of factors. Yeah, the Scar Heavy. And I will say this too. There is definitely like, for the most part, you feel pretty focused, or like you feel forced to use silencers. A lot of guns, you feel like you feel like heavily incentivized to use silencers, right? There's not really a downside. I will say, the Scar's power and its headshot multiplier, like, actually makes me feel like, yeah, this is a worthy trade-off, right? The amount of extra damage I get for a Scar Heavy, or I guess Scar Super Heavy, seems like a fair trade-off for no silencer. Yeah, but I think that's just more right now, more that they're still working on guns in progress and they're very buggy right now. So for example, what he's referring to is that like when we go full auto, they're like the first shot or two, and depends on the gun too, the recoil is very excessive and then it calms down. But usually after that, it turns into a laser. Like every gun after like 4 or 5 rounds turns into a laser currently. Hold on, I'm passing the capture test real quick. It would be actually genuinely funny if for some reason this was a lot harder for Gunhead. Like it actually was a captcha. It'd be such a small little detail to include, but it would be so very funny to like have that captcha test almost be harder for Gunhead. Or rather, you basically have to guess, or you can't even hack with Gunhead. He opens up the panel, just can't read anything.
Contact.
Yeah, it's just zeros and ones. It's like Westworld, right? This doesn't look like anything to me. Man, OG Westworld was so good. I know like the later seasons like fell off really hard, but I really did want them to finish the story. Like naturally, if you only watch the first season and stop there, that's perfectly valid. The second, third, and fourth season do fall off quite a bit. But like they were 1 season away from finishing their story, and I did want to see the end, or what they had in plan for the end. Probably not that much. I'm probably, I would say about like 1.1, I'm guessing. I have way more. Ow, okay, I'm definitely lower than 1.1 now. 50 cal to the chest will do that. Psycho, I actually wouldn't mind that though, like if they really explored like making the CAC classes much more unique and specialized in certain aspects and having real drawbacks. As I tell all my players constantly in D&D, it's not your strengths that make up the character, it's your flaws, your downsides, right? Having a character with no flaws makes for a very flat character.
Safe and sound.
What do you mean, Delta? That is his head is the gun. Actually, little Papa, so hold on 1 second, let me get into the lobby. So we are currently, I can't tell what prestige you are. Nice, we can just unlock you. We're 17, so we're pretty up there. So actually so little Papa, we only have currently, if gunheads weren't bespoke and, you know, not just, you know, base guns, right? If gunhead was just a base gun, he should be able to use anything, right? But because gunheads are, you know, these specific variants of guns, right? What actually is the case is his guns are his gun holds the camera. His camera are the bullets. So every single gunhead bullet, it's why you only have limited rounds with gunhead. Every single bullet is a camera. And so gunhead sees the muzzle of his gun constantly. And when he fires a bullet, the camera goes out, a new one comes in, and he can see again. So it's camera bullets. That's his sensors. He sees the barrel of a gun. He is constantly stuck in the intro to a James Bond movie. He can't see anymore. That's the real drawback. Next time it happens, I run out of ammo, I'm gonna draw off my screen. Oh yeah, I'm not actually being genuine, Richie. I'm being kind of facetious right now. No. Yeah, when you shoot all your bullets with gunhead, your screen just turns off. Hey, they did say, right, too, like the old PlayStation games, right, were kind of their inspiration. And remember Metal Gear Solid, right? You had the actual instances where the game would break the fourth wall and fuck with your console. Imagine if a game did that to you nowadays, though. How pissed people would be, I feel like. If it actually, like, had the ability to shut off your monitor or something. I don't think it would go well. I mean, you kind of see it in Hades, right? Like, Hades does do the thing, too, where, it doesn't go as far as to mess with your hardware, but, Hades 2, right? One of the bosses, like, you can't pause the game during it. It will actually unpause the game if you do it. Sorry, spoiler alert, but, you know. I didn't say which boss, so, you know, you can have that going for you. What map? Scorched Enclave? Soon enough. We haven't done Alpha in a while. Yeah, Demos, exactly that. need some expunging. So Kane. I mean, so like we don't know much about Kane, right? There's not really any lore about him. He's just a liaison for Yoruska, right? Sorry, for Eurasia. You can kind of see like synthetic skin. Essentially, my theory, right, is like as you get higher up in the Eurasia's military, and you get more of like your free will back, you are bestowed upon you like more a more human facade, if you will, to symbolize you are like no longer just a slave. This is of your own volition. I never have got I might have done this quest once back in the day. Maybe like shot in the head or just like shrapnel or explosions or so on and so forth. You actually see that a lot on a lot of the different cyborgs, is that their porcelain faces, or their faces are like cracked and scarred. And that could be from explosions, or it could be the fact is like it could just be a drawback of the human skin, is that it gets worn by the weather and time and sand and dust and so on and so forth. It could be, for example, why the officers, the actual factual, like high-end officers, wear masks to maybe protect their faces. It's also probably for HUD elements too, right? But let's go. Who have we not played it today in regards to characters? I don't think we've actually played Masked Man yet today. Maybe like once or twice. Oh, we played with the when we were sniping. We played Scab Girl. We played everyone so far. We'll just go back to Masked Man for now, and his buggy ADS. No. All right. 11, and I think we're good. Oh, we have light and dark, right? So I need to bring a cigarette in. Cigarettes. There we go. I do hope they. I mean, it'll probably come into a refactor or rebalancing in the future. Cigarettes right now are like the worst consumable by far. This is so bad. For those unaware, it drains 200 HP, which is, it's bad by itself, right? Draining 200 HP, but it does it in a slow manner. And during this drain, you can no longer heal. So you like, say for example, if you pop these cigarettes and you get into a firefight, during the entire duration of the cigarettes, you cannot heal. Your medkits do no work. See you, Kaz. Thanks for stopping by. Do you think he's okay? Sir? I don't think he's okay. Seems kind of wasteful. Wait, is that his skull, or did like they just put the skull on top of it after the body? All right. Ah, yes, the T90 staircase. And Cyber Jesus. Yeah, the skyboxes in this game go hard for sure. They are all very pretty skyboxes. I don't think I want to fuck with shotguns. I mean, oh, we were just on Mech Dredge. Like, not like 2-3 runs ago when we were on Mech Trudge. Thanks, Star. Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, once again, like, Mech Trench is probably, like, a C on my tier list. It, aesthetic-wise, I don't... It actually, from an aesthetic standpoint, too, it's probably, like... If I was to rate maps aesthetically, too, I would probably place Mech Trench pretty low also. There's a... I think it's missing a lot of verticality, it feels like. Even from an, like, aesthetic standpoint, I feel like there could be so much verticality on the map. So, kind of akin, sort of, kind of ghoul to the whole premise behind Lordos being kind of like the future depicted by like an AI. It could just be its own form of life, like kind of molded into the mech, right? So essentially, right, the way I say it in the video, right, is that it seems that the medium mechs are like almost insectoid a little bit, like with hemolymph perhaps. It might not be a human, it might be partially human too, right? But it feels like almost to some extent, I'm playing Masked Man, Colin, that the medium mechs are grown and like almost like dreadnoughts, right? To some extent, they're these, and not literally like dreadnoughts in the sense of like old war heroes that are put into a carcass or sarcophagi, but more like they're grown organic beings that are now kind of grown, and then the armor is placed around them, kind of like a coffin, right? And they have these giant backpacks too, where they carry your, like, you know, soldiers around. So it seems like maybe they like convert them into biofuel later. Maybe they don't. And the premise being too, right, is that the reason for hemolymph is that you don't really need a digestive system at all. You essentially, if your food source is the biofuel, right, you just put some of that mixture into essentially your hemolymph or your blood, and that kind of gets moved about your body through just pressure gradients, and you get your nutrition that way. Yeah, like there's a lot of factors, right, where like Demos, yeah, like where Uresca feels like it grows its units. It tries to it tries to make its units like almost adaptive to the future, right? It seems that, like, once again, its prerogative is not winning the war. Its prerogative is like pushing it into the future, pushing the faction into the future, kind of forcing evolution, but with technology and biology. Let me up. Like, in the grand scheme of things, it feels like Uresca, I mean, like, Uresca is the faction we know the least about, right? But it seems like Uresca is trying to adapt to this new future, while both Eurasia and Europa are trying to conquer the future in their own way. Yeah, and like, that's part of it too, Demos. Like, the war is part of the new future, right? The perpetual war. I mean, most of it's headcanon, right? A lot of it's reading into things way too deeply. But they did mention, right, like Law, that they do kind of take inspiration from the Dark Souls level of, like, ambient kind of storytelling. Not being, you know, just exposition dumps, but more of just passive storytelling through, like, descriptions and so on and so forth. No, the infantry are just, no. Yeah, the infantry are just a means to an end, really, I don't think. Like, there might be cases where you might see infantry get, like, modified. Like, for example, the Russian male infantry might be on steroids, for example, and stims, as we see. But it definitely, it kind of feels like, to some extent, the AI knows it can't it can't reshape what's already been built. It tries to create new things almost. So the AI knows, like, once you're, it's not going to try and reform something that's already, like, built up, I guess. And maybe the orgamechs, for example, like, you can almost see the orgamechs, for example, being what it can think it can do to people who are already fully grown, right? Like, for example, the tale with Lordos, right, is him eventually, you know, going to try and solve an issue in regards to bioweapons, right? Him essentially getting killed and resurrected in the form of an orgamech. But, like, you can clearly see, like, he's not much there anymore, if anything left. And it could be kind of maybe the AI's view, right, is like, maybe that was a test, right? Humanity cannot be saved. It cannot adapt to this new future I'm creating. So the best I can do to preserve them is put their memories into a sarcophagi and then distract them. If like, if we're assuming the AI itself for Yoreska is not malevolent, it's, you know, benevolent. It could be in the sense of, like, I am trying to adapt these humans to the future. You know, I'm going to put it against a grabber, for example, and see if these, like, highly trained soldiers can contain this or fight this off. And if they can't, you know, I might need to find a new solution. And maybe it found out that, you know, these soldiers cannot survive in this new future I'm creating. How do I preserve, you know, maybe humanity to some extent, or how do I get humanity into the future? And maybe it views the soma kind of aspect of it, right? You know, an engram of a human as opposed to, or a copy of a human as opposed to an actual human being the way of doing that. And the way to distract the humans from actually ever realizing that is, you know, war, you know, conflict, strife, things to distract them from asking internal questions, right? Because, like, when you run out of external stimuli, right, then when there's nothing left to distract you externally, right, then you turn inward. And maybe they don't want them asking those questions. Yeah, Demos, exactly right. I don't even have this quest, I don't think. I need to go, little tippy taps. Little tippy taps. Look at the little tippy taps go. It's like a little dog. Excited. Look at it go. Can I hear someone behind me? Oh, I have a camera over me. Is there an AOD back here? It's gonna get here eventually. I need to run. It's slowly coming to me. The exo is sneaking. I think it is coming up here too. We're trying to. It's the snail, right? The endless snail. Here it comes. Hey, where are you? Oh, HK, it's time to leave.
Getting there. Slowly but surely. Getting to something at least.
I don't think that's a missile. Hold on. So what you're referring to, I believe, is this over here. I don't think this is a missile. Well, like, rather, sorry, let me refrain. This is a missile. It's been repurposed. This is a tunnel clearer. This is something like you run on the tracks to clear out the tracks to make sure you're not gonna, like, get derailed. Like, when you close this upright, it's naturally in a shape where it's not going to, like, usually like crash into things. It's going to push them out of the way, right? And so like its kind of whole design is to clear out the subway tunnels to push things out of the way. It's not like the perfect shape for it, but like it's well shaped for that. You could probably put people inside of it too, but like also as a way of like sending supplies out also. It could just be its own little supply, like a repurposed missile for a supply thing. Like you throw supplies inside, you set it on your way through the tracks and send it over to here. Like this could be how we get resupplied. And then we have on the opposite side over here, right? I think just like a rail car, if I recall correctly. No, APC, right? This is the APC. Yeah. Same instance, right? The European APC here. Then I'm very one thing I was hoping for with like the reinforcement update they're doing now, which I guess is going to be broken into two parts, is that we're missing a lot of logistics vehicles currently to facilitate like dynamic reinforcements. And so I'm very excited to see eventually getting more logistical vehicles in, like APC carriers and like, you know, Hueys. If they add a Huey into the game, we know they are just trying to like, they just want the like, what if we combine the 1960s, 2100, and then some dark bio future? What if we combine Battlefield Vietnam with Scorn? That's certainly a vibe. Let's see here. We only done one Scorch, I think, so far today. Yeah, there are plenty of them, yeah, in the sands of Ashen Mesa for sure. I mean, considering the power of the balloons they currently have access to, yeah, I can see that, right? If they can lift cows, why can't they lift automated guns, I guess? The new balloon feature. Bringing back the Hindenburgs. I would say, like, despite me being kind of joking right now, large sky units would fuck real hard. It would be so cool to see, like, giant things in the sky. Like, that was kind of my critique right now. I really like the whole concept of the drones coming out of the sky, but, like, there's a bit of reservation in regards to, like, where are they coming from? Are they just, like, descending from high altitude, I guess? Not having a visual basis to see, like, where these drones are coming from is a bit confusing. So, like, seeing, like, massive, like, flying ships overhead, even if temporary, would be really cool. I guess it depends, too, on technology, right? Like how you want to approach that, but yeah. There's a lot of questions. So many questions, not a lot of answers. Yeah, balloons, like they'd be pretty high balloons, right? Like that could be the thing. Hey, and that could be a thing too, Demos. Like you have high altitude balloons that essentially are satellites. They're not really satellites, and they would, like, that's an interesting way of getting, like, if they really wanted to have the Kessler effect even be in effect in low Earth orbit for some lore reasons, like, say, for example, one way the Kessler effect could happen persistently is, say, for example, you had automated launch facilities that kept launching shit into low Earth orbit, getting it destroyed and adding to the problem. Essentially, for the Kessler effect, right, stuff in low Earth orbit would decay to the point where you could still throw satellites up. As long as there wasn't like a long period of like people still shooting shit into space. But say, for example, if there was issues in regards to like automated facilities that kept shooting shit into space and adding to the Kessler effect, that could be a scenario. But like one way you wouldn't get full like a satellite coverage, but what you could do, for example, is maybe do like, yeah, high orbit balloons as a way of, say, for example, having kind of makeshift communication satellites. It wouldn't be perfect, but it would be like passable. It'd be better than what they currently have, right? Which is apparently jack shit in regards to communications at long range. Like, one of the premises that are said, right, is like Europa has to communicate via drone messenger. Yeah, and Demos, like, there is, like, I think the ESA, right, Europe Space Agency, actually has, like, a whole thing on the Kessler effect, too. Like, and, like, the decay of certain things in orbit. And, like, it's very clear, right, that for the most part, you would get back the lower to mid parts of low Earth orbit pretty quickly. Within the context of 40 years of war, right? Like, that would become available again. Alright, sponge are up. I am kind of scared of the helicopter, I'm not gonna lie. Hello, you. Alright, there's Commander. Yeah, you can do it. I really just don't. No, 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 no. You're cheating. No, the heli aggro is built different this patch. I got one quest done. Ah, yes, I definitely got past Toothy. I went into a rock and killed him. Want to see me do it again? No, helis have definitely gotten a bit crazier this patch for sure. And like the biggest thing is that they're very sticky now, right? They just, once you draw their ire, they want to murder you. Hey man, just fighting back, man. Gotta respect the tank for that. Now, yeah, when you see a chopper now, it's kind of just like the stay the fuck away from it, because it will end up murdering you half the time. Oh no, yeah, 100%. Yeah, blood. They're, like, it's definitely a complicated issue too, because I imagine it takes so much work to make a probably like well-functioning helicopter that looks realistic. But right now it looks like it's being dragged to different planes. Yeah, it's missing so much nuance to its movement where it doesn't look organic at all. Like you said, it looks like it's being dragged by a Gmod gun. Not that it's flying. And also just like, it's just very low altitude too, right? It just feels like it's way too low for its own good. Yeah, I guess it depends too. Like EDF Wave is like, they just don't really have, maybe, I don't know what physics they're using at all really. But it feels like, not, considering we have flying tanks, it doesn't feel exactly like very grounded physics right now. Alright, I want my stuff back. Yeah, like things are definitely missing a... Yeah, like the volume and weight are two big things that seem to be missing from a lot of different units, right? Oh man, I forgot my jump. I had to do this the hard way. So you can do it this way. It's a much bigger pain in the ass to do it this way though. It's a lot of guesswork, because I can never remember how to do exactly. Don't you knock me all the way down, please. There's like one place you should be able to mantle up here, if I recall. Maybe they fixed it, but I don't know why, if they would. Yeah, this is why having a jump's much easier. You can get up this way, it's just a massive pain in the ass of how to get, like, remember how to do it. I'm about, like, maybe a minute from giving up. Maybe less than that, maybe like 30 seconds. I should have brought a jump! Let me try using the little cheaty thing. So if I... That, you know what? That wasn't on purpose. I'll take it. Speaking of cows. I feel like you should have had a scope on you, but you know what? It's fine. Where is the commander? Is the commander just dead? I will say, there's plenty of instances where, like, Toothy will accidentally crush his commander, or a medium mech might accidentally crush the commander. Wait, that's Pyro right there. These iron sights. I got my kill stolen. I'm very upset. I'm guessing Pyro killed the commander. Well, that was productive. You missed me getting killed by a helicopter. You missed me having to jump onto a rock. You missed me getting kill stolen. I don't feel very safe right now. You missed the cow. Species, that's good character design, right? When you can recognize the silhouette from that far away. It's more right. I saw the grenade launcher. I saw the spawn. It was like, that has to be Pyro. That's one of his spawns. Though, I mean, naturally, right? He is Pyro. He does have a gas tank on his back. I mean, we're gonna see flamers eventually, right? Some grilled up cyborgs. Like, gotcha container right there. Hello, you. Did you know in this small box there can be 15 guns, 10 pneumatic jumps, and 8 rig lights? I'm being hyperbolic, but still. How, fun dog? How can so much fit in so little? Why don't you consider size and volume to be a real thing? You artists and your insulting of mathematics and geometry. What if this is just a bunch of artists who hated math in college and are getting back at math? Getting mad at reason.
At least we made it.
This game is a spiteful letter to the mathematics department of their local college. Yeah, so in that box we had a G36, an MG34, M60, a Spaz 12, an SA58, 2 turrets, a tactical camera, and a little bit of ammo and meds. Exactly, Law. I didn't go to art school to learn math and logic. Hold on, let's actually get a actual sight on this. Alright, let's try this again. With a jump. Yeah, Demo, it's just the whole, like, progression and crafting and entering. Like, there's a lot of different things, right? So many different things. All the different things.
I hate this.
Also, like, you know, all those things too. But then we have the MG34 that looks actually cool. Like, I have to question why we have this gun in this game, but in regards to like the actual aesthetics of it, I'm okay with it. It fucking smacks. It doesn't perform anything like an MG34, but like it's got that whole dystopian vibe to it, like a surplus gun of the days of old that was like retrofitted to be into the future. Like if we're gonna have M16s and G36s and M4s, right? Like have soldiers modify them in unique ways to like make them fit the setting, right? Like one cool thing being the bayonets we can't use. What hurts a cyborg more? My giant pointy dagger or my elbow? Are you? Yeah, you spawned. Up we go all. Where's the commander? Don't tell me did you squish your commander again? We're gonna go find him. Need to go freaking question Toothy and why he keeps killing his commander. It could be behind the corner too. I will say, like, sometimes the commander will hide behind the corner, but like, I've seen instances of him of just Toothy murdering its own commander. Is this where Toothy goes rogue, perhaps? On the fields of Scorched Enclave? Yeah, I think the commander's dead. I am so very sad, but I think the commander is very well dead. Hello. Is that an Orgamech? Yeah, it's an Orgamech. I'm actually, hold on, intrusive thoughts time. I'm really sorry. I'm just curious what happens here. I want to see if I go to the moon. The thought being is the Orgamech will charge the tank, clip into the tank, send the tank flying, and me flying along with it. Oh, or I guess this could happen. It sounds cool. It sounds angry. Okay, apparently the ground strike goes through the tank. Understood. He didn't like my, my tomfoolery. All right. That's it for today, everyone. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys again on Friday. This Friday's community stream, so open lobby. If you want to join, you can join. There's not like a waiting list or anything like that. Just be on when I start streaming at 1 and then join the lobby. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. New video is in the works. It's gonna take a while. It's gonna be a longer video, I think. So it might be 2 weeks until it's done, but we'll see. It should hopefully be a higher quality video. I'm trying to expand my repertoire a bit, but yeah, we'll see. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys Friday, and take it easy. Bye all.